Okay. Let's get the stream started. Fully, at least. Okay, it says I'm live, but it's not showing. Just looking at this out of curiosity. Okay. Turn down the volume in my headset, because that just deafened me. Visually looks good. Does it sound good?
Looks good. Does it sound good?
It does indeed. So hello, people of the internet. It is I, Soulrack Dragon, here back with more Fate Stay Night Remaster, where we are going to continue the Fate route. Just as a reminder, last time we beat Berserker. Somehow we did. I'm not really sure how it happened, but we did it. We beat Berserker, and now it is day 12 of the game. I'm not really sure what the significance of it being day 12 is, but it's day 12. Ilya has been brought back to the house with us as well, so that's something. Oh, well, you know, I think this is right. Memories are flowing back into my brain, but essentially after beating Berserker, we brought Ilya home with us to shelter her, and now Rin and Saber want to send her off to the church with Kotomine. And, you know, meta-knowledge perspective, that's a bad idea. So I'm gonna shelter Ilya. You know, be smart. Shelter the little sister. Because that's what she is. She is Shiro's little sister. Kiritsuga always told me to protect girls, and I don't like seeing kids suffer. I mean, she's his big sister. That's right. Ilya's 18, Shiro is only 17. Well, I think Ilya should stay here. The Holy Grail War isn't over. I want to shelter Ilya until the last of the Masters are taken care of. Yep, if Shiro says so, I'll stay here. Hey, Ilya, you're choking me. Can't breathe. I intend to pry Ilya off from me, but before I get the chance, Saber steps over and does it for me. What's with you? You've been getting in my way this whole time. Do you have some sort of problem with me? Of course I do. I'll never forget what you did to Shiro. And you, Shiro, do you still not understand that nothing good will come of sheltering Ilya's veil? What about it? Ilya doesn't have a servant anymore, so she's not dangerous. She's no longer a master. Besides, how would you feel if she got attacked after we abandoned her? Ilya's life would be in danger, and the other masters might gain power from her. Yes, that might be true, but... Saber hesitates. No matter what she says, Saber understands that another master might attack Ilya if we leave her alone. Yeah, just like how she murdered Shinji. Don't forget that, Shiro. She murdered your former best friend. Yeah. But it's okay. Then it's my turn to argue. I'm sorry to jump in after you've convinced Saber, but I don't agree. Look, Shiro, she's still a master. She may have lost her servant, but I also told you that as long as she has command spells, she is a master. She says that. Tosaka just butts in while she sips her tea. And what's that supposed to mean, Tosaka? I'm saying that as long as she has her command spells, she can form a contract with as many servants as she wants. There are stray servants who don't have masters, and as long as the master has the capacity to take in that stray servant, they can form contracts with as many as they want. There isn't stray servants, though, Rin. That is a deception. What the heck? So if there's a capable master around, they can form contracts with as many servants as they want. Not exactly as many as they want. The Holy Grail can only call upon 7 heroic spirits, so 7 would be the maximum. Though no matter how capable a mage is, they couldn't have enough magical energy to power multiple servants. Well... Even if they did, they would have to divide their own magical energy in half to supply 2 servants. That would weaken the servants, which would make forming contracts difficult and pointless. I see. So if I formed a contract with Saber and Berserker, they would have to split my magical energy between them to maintain their existence, which would drastically weaken both of them. That means it would make more sense to keep one servant and supply them with magical energy. Now that you mention it, didn't you say servants could change masters? Is that what you mean? Oh, look at you, catching on for a change. And you're right, Shiro. That's how servants changing masters goes. A servant who's lost their master has some time before disappearing, so if in that time they can find a master who's seeking a servant and form a contract, they'll be fine. Yes, so that's why you can't let your guard down with Rin, Shiro. She's still a master too. She might kill you and seize Saber, or she might form a new contract with another surviving servant. Yep, and I could say the exact same thing about you, Ilya. That's never gonna happen. I don't intend on teaming up with another servant. My servant is and will only ever be Berserker. I don't know what kind of relationship Ilya and Berserker had, but I do know that that servant was special to her. That is a surprise, but at the same time, it makes me happy. I'm happy to know that despite the fact that as a master, Ilya was relentless, she still cherished her partner. Oh, but if Shiro loses, I'll take Saber. I won't let anyone other than Shiro win, but if Shiro loses, I'll win on his behalf. Ilya says that proudly, just as she was starting to impress Saber and Tosaka. That is ridiculous. I'm Shiro's servant. I have no intention of becoming your servant. Well, I don't care anyway. I just want Shiro to win. Whether I win or Saber protects Shiro, it's all the same to me. Huh? What a weird thing to say. Actually, if she wants me to win, why would she think like that anyway? And then, Tosaka must have found it strange too. She starts to think. I certainly mind. I will not approve no matter what. Rin, please warn Shiro yourself. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Tell him what, Saber? About how we're against sheltering Ilya's Veil here. Oh, that? I guess sheltering her wouldn't be a terrible idea. Huh? Saber freezes. I had advocated for this, and even I'm surprised. I don't blame the opposing Saber for being frozen in shock. Rin, have you lost your mind? No. If I think about this rationally, I see the risks are all the same. It doesn't matter whether we leave Ilya alone, give her shelter here, or send her off to the church. It may even work out in our favor if masters come here looking for Ilya. With Saber as she is now, she would be hard for even multiple servants to defeat if they attack together. That'd be the fastest way to end this Holy Grail War, and that's what you want too, isn't it, Saber? But if you think you'd lose to other servants, that's another story. Of course not. You understand my condition perfectly. So long as Shiro is my master, I cannot be defeated. Right. Then us sheltering Ilya isn't a problem. And there's something else. Shiro's decision might have actually been a really smart move. Tosaka goes quiet. She must have convinced Saber, who reluctantly takes a step back from Ilya. Yay, peace in our days. We finish breakfast, then move to the dojo. Tosaka goes back to her room while Saber follows me. As for Ilya... Hey, are you really going to do some sword training? She follows me to the dojo like we're joined at the hip. I was looking forward to hanging out with you today, Shiro, but Saber's in the way. It's boring here and I'm cold. Well, I'm not surprised Ilya thinks this is boring. Watching someone train isn't what I'd call exciting. Let's go back to the living room. If you want to get stronger, I'll help you. Ilya takes one of my hands in both of hers and tries to tug me away from the dojo. But at least in this, I can't indulge Ilya. No, I can't, Ilya. I train every day, so I can't miss today. I'm not a proper mage, so I need to work hard to be ready to fight. Besides, if I train, I can protect you too, Ilya. I decided to shelter you here, so I should train to help me do just that. Okay, you may be right. But I really don't need you protecting me. You're my brother, so I just need you to be with me. It seems I've failed to convince her. Ilya tugs more aggressively at my hand. Saber watches silently all the while. Her eyes burn into the pair of us. She must still not approve of Ilya being here, and is being more than a little cold toward her. Wow, Saber, even though you knew her when She was like 10. You still don't like Ilya. For shame. For shame. And then our eyes meet. Good timing. I'll ask for Saber's opinion. I said I can't. Tell her, Saber. Tell her I train with you every day. There is nothing for me to say. You are the one who brought Ilya's veil to... You are the one who brought Ilya's veil here. Persuading her is your duty, not mine. Ooh. I don't know why, but I guess she's really ticked now. Oh, you know your place well, Saber. You don't need to train. The ones left are all weak, so you don't need to bother with this. Well, let's see. Berserker, Rider, Archer, all eliminated. All that remains is Saber, Caster, Assassin, Lancer. Come on, Shiro. Let's say we're taking care of the other masters, and we can just go play outside. Well, hey, slow down. I lose my balance and feel myself being tugged towards the dojo's exit. Hey, no. Let go, Ilya. I'm not going to indulge you this time. I'm not skipping my sword training. I'm going to stick to it. Sure, you might think it's boring, but I enjoy it. If you're going to complain, then go wait in the living room. I shake her off violently. She obviously didn't expect me to fling her away like that. Ilya backs off surprised and then looks at me nervously. Crap. I should have been nicer about it. Sorry, Ilya, if I was too rough with you, but I'm not going to give up my sword training. I'm sorry to leave you alone, but please, stay in the living room. ... Ilya sulks away toward the entrance, but stops by the wall. Fine, I'll watch here. You won't mind that, right? Ilya suddenly roars in defiance. She glares our way, pitching a small tantrum. I don't mind, but it's cold in the dojo and there's tea and snacks in the living room for you. I made up my mind, so it's fine. I'm not going to leave Shiro and Saber alone here. Ilya huffs and turns her nose up. Oh well, you're more than welcome to go back to the living room if you get bored. At least things have settled down. I take the two shinai leaning against the wall and turn to face Saber. Let's begin. It's been 3 days, so I might be a little rusty. Hey, are you okay, Saber? You look a little dazed. Oh, it's nothing like that. Saber turns away from Ilya, furiously shaking her head. So are you alright? Let's begin. Here's your shinai. Please simply throw it to me. You mustn't approach me so haphazardly. We're only here to train. That's what I've been saying. What else would we be doing, Saber? A little confused, I tossed the shinai to her. Besides, I've never once landed a strike on Saber. I've never even gotten close to being within striking range of her, so Saber telling me not to come close seems odd. Saber takes the shinai, I toss her a bit awkwardly, then lets out an audible sigh. Then let us begin. Things may not be the same as before, but please try to maintain your composure, Shiro. Saber glances at Ilya as she speaks. I'll be fine. Once we've started, nothing will bother me. I grip my shinai and focus on Saber. She stands in front of me, shinai in hand. Now my attention is fixed only on her. I think Saber is the one taking things a little awkwardly. We spend 2 hours training, then go on break as usual. This just reminds me of how amazing you are, Saber. I nod approvingly and gulp down some water from the kettle I brought along. I quench my thirst and wipe the sweat from my neck with a towel, which helps me finally relax. So that was your training? Seemed like it was just Shiro getting beat up. Ilya is so blunt about things most people would find awkward. That's not true, Ilya. It may have looked like I'm just getting beat up, but it was actually worse before. In fact, I didn't pass out even once today, so I'd say I did pretty well today. Oh, really? But does that have anything to do with your skills, Shiro? From where I was sitting, it looked like Saber ignored plenty of opportunities to attack you. Ilya's expression turns thoughtful. Ooh, she's sharp. I found it odd too, actually. Either Saber was holding back out of concern for me, or she isn't in top form. Whatever the case, Saber didn't go all out. Well, she may not always fight seriously while we're training, but she's always been merciless about exploiting openings before. Today she lacks drive, though. Normally she just rushes in and attacks hard enough to knock me out, but there was none of that today. You think so too, Ilya? Maybe Saber's given up on me. I didn't see it that way. But whatever, Saber readjusted her grip on her shinai to execute a follow-up blow. She just stopped and stepped back. Ilya's observant. I'm not sure why she did that. It wasn't like she was unwilling to attack, but more like she was scared, or trying to hold back. Saber would never hold back. Well, wouldn't she, though? Wouldn't she? If she had the compassion for that, she wouldn't beat me that bad the first day. Yeah, Saber isn't the sort to hold back in training. That's why I was able to focus so completely on her weapon. What's gotten into Saber? This isn't training at all. It seems unbelievable, but did she go easy on me? No, I did not go easy on you. I was simply imagining myself facing off against a swordsman somewhat more skilled than Shiro, as usual. Something's not right. Saber has to see it too. I can't imagine you ever taking it easy on me, and I know you were being serious. But I think you were holding back. If you don't come right at me, this is pointless. Calling her out. Right at you? But that would mean I would be getting close to Master. Depending on what happens, our bodies might come into contact. Yeah, she's got it bad. Oh, Saber. Well, we're sparring, so I guess we might bump shoulders or something. Besides, you used to slam your whole body into mine to knock me down, but because you said I wasn't defending myself well enough. And close combat is your specialty, Saber. Did I do that sort of thing? That's kind of a weird question, but yeah, frequently. Remember how you used to slam me into the wall when we first sparred? I said you were pretty strong for a girl, and you said it was natural for a swordsman. Ilya knows. Saber stands there dumbfounded. What's going on? Saber's acting really weird today. I'd hate to learn she isn't feeling well. I should talk to Tosaka later. Oh, Ilya sees it. We get back to our training, but it's still different than before. But after just a few strikes, Saber sets down her shinai. Is this a new kind of training? She might strike me straight in the head the moment I drop my guard and get close. I breathe hard, watching Saber cautiously. Saber narrows her eyes, showing that she's serious now, and steps forward. Let us have lunch. Serious about food. That's not like her. I lower my shinai. Lunch? Is it that time already? According to the clock, it's a bit before noon. It's lunchtime for sure, but this is the first time Saber's been one to step up and suggest it. Neither Saber or I paid much attention to the time when we trained before. We'd take a break, then notice we were hungry, then we'd check the clock and see that it was about lunchtime. It's a good idea. I could go along with it easy enough. Okay. Decision. So. First off, this is not an affection choice. So there is no affection gained or lost depending on the choice. So that tells me that this is a choice that will have a domino effect later on down the line. So fasting seems like it's a bad idea, because if we say we're fasting today, this could be a day where we're going to be up against another servant, and low food, low energy equals defeat. Maybe. Though that you don't really have bad ends after triple choices, so maybe not then. Fine, but why is she on the dot? So, okay, let's have lunch, and fine, but why is she on the dot today? Why is she on the dot today? I do not understand that phrasing. Why is someone on the dot today meaning? See if that is just exactly on time. So she's just very punctual today. But I mean, she isn't. This is kind of like the first instance of her wanting to do something on the dot. I don't think fasting is a good idea. Fasting sounds like it's a bad call. Just for a multitude of reasons. It shows that this is not a affection choice, but it very well could be a hidden modifier or something. Caving in... Shiro has kind of been... Like, the way we've been playing Shiro, he's kind of combatant with Saber a little bit. He does push back a bit. So just completely giving in does not feel very Shiro Emiya-like, so why is she on the dot today? Just because that's phrasing I've never heard. Yeah, Elia's here too, so let's have lunch early today. I agree to Saber's suggestion and lower my shinai. And then... Saber's shoulders sag in relief. What's really going on? She's acting so weird. Maybe I should at least ask why. What a relief. Then let us all head to the living room. Shiro's cooking is delicious, but takes a while to prepare. Do you think the time I spend working on lunch is wasted time? I guess I should have made bento for lunch every day. That would have been much easier and less time-consuming, and I wouldn't have to be in the kitchen every time either. I put all that work into lunch as a way of thanking her, but if Saber doesn't like me spending that much time on it, so be it. Shiro, what are you doing? Let us head to the living room. What? Oh, yeah. Lunch, right? I lean my shinai against the wall and set 3 cushions on the floor. Yes, lunch. We'll be taking a break afterwards, but we will have a problem if you don't head to the kitchen right away. Why? We don't need to go back to the living room, and we don't need to rush. What would be the problem? Oh. Saber stopped so suddenly I can practically hear his gears grinding. And how come today of all days you're so insistent on stopping on time? What's got you in such a hurry? No, it's not that I'm in a rush, but then we can enjoy a nice leisurely lunch since we have the time. Well, that may be true, but... Anyway, we must move to the living room. If we do not eat lunch, it will affect our afternoon training. And I said I already prepared it. If you've got the time, then you can go to the living room and bring back the bento I made this morning. Bento? I nod as I open the windows to let in the cool air. And then, our stomachs growl, signaling we're both hungry. Alright, we always let our stomachs growling be our meal alarm. No wonder it seemed weird. I turn to Saber. What's wrong, Saber? Did opening the window make it too cold? Well, you should at least ventilate the room since we're eating here, though. No, it's nothing. Did you say lunch is in the living room? Saber dashes out of the dojo. What was that all about? Saber's half-hearted head's the way she acted now. Maybe she does have a fever. She's hot for something. It's noon and we eat lunch. I made a hearty breakfast, so lunch is boxed leftovers. That's a weird lunch. I see. You've taken the dishes from this morning and put them in between slices of bread. Saber nods her approval as she eats her sandwich. The way she uses the paper napkin to keep her hands from getting dirty, there's such grace even in the way she eats a bento. Yep, I realized this during breakfast. You're a good cook, Shiro. It's nice that the food is so good. On the other end of the spectrum, Ilya eagerly crams her sandwich into her mouth. I can't tell if she's just playing around or copying me. Ilya seems to have better manners than Saber, except at the table. Hold it, Ilya's veil. If you eat like that, your hair will get dirty. Ooh, that's an interesting little cutscene. Ilya must have had butter smeared on the corner of her mouth or something. Saber leans in reluctantly, wiping off whatever it is. Thanks, but what's the big idea? I thought you didn't like me, Saber. I am wary of you, yes, but even I understand people's feelings. You have no hostility, and Shiro has accepted you as a guest. That's why I will show you a bare minimum of courtesy. And besides... Your hair is beautiful. It pains me to see it getting so dirty. Ah, she's remembering Eri. Shiro's still mine, you know. Well, I can maybe consider being a little friendly with you. I can make Shiro win, but I can't protect him after all. Ilya shrugs and takes another bite of her sandwich. You need not remind me. It is the duty of a servant to be their master's shield. Saber responds plainly enough as they eat. Their conversation hasn't changed much, but at least they sound calmer. As we relax after finishing our meal, Tosaka comes in. Shiro, are you here? I'm ready, so you can come as soon as you can. Her message delivered, Tosaka heads straight back to the outbuilding. Alright, I forgot. Tosaka was going to teach me magecraft in the afternoon. I never had a proper teacher, so Tosaka's magecraft lectures have been really helpful. She seems to be willing to keep teaching, so I should clean up here quickly and head over. Sorry, but I'm going to head to Tosaka's room. Not sure how long it's going to take, so you two should go back to your rooms and rest. Okay, I'm a little tired, so I'll take a nap. Ilya walks out of the dojo, rubbing her sleepy eyes. That's a relief. As long as Ilya goes to sleep, I don't think there's any problems with me going to Tosaka's room. Shiro, are you going to Rin's room? Yeah, I just said that. Tosaka's teaching me the basics of magecraft. Is that really necessary? With Berserker gone, there are no more enemies that require our alliance to defeat. Would that not mean there is nothing more for you to learn from Rin? She might be right. Tosaka's lessons were originally meant to help me when we were up against Berserker. So with him gone, there's no reason for her to teach me anything else. No, Berserker or not, I still want to learn from her. There's still so much I don't know as a mage, and I'd like to fix that as soon as I can. I see. If you insist, then I have no business stopping you. Huh? Saber looks sullen as she says that. Saber pouty. Okay. Okay, time to start my lesson. First, though, is anything broken? That's how she began. It's kind of an odd question to ask the moment I arrive. Broken? Like what? I'm asking if any part of you isn't working. You did some wild stuff, so you must have burnt out a nerve or two. Not to say I care, I just figured it'd be hard to teach you unless I knew whether there was anything wrong. According to Tosaka, some parts of me should be numb. But since I'm the only one living in my body, I can say she's wrong. Nope, everything's working fine. The headache and fever are gone now that I've had a night's sleep. I feel fine. What? That can't be true. Did you forget the part where you projected Saber's sword? That would have cost a normal person their arm. But I told you I'm fine. Besides, if my body wasn't working, I wouldn't have been able to carry Ilya back to the house. And at that point, the only thing wrong with me was a headache and a fever. That's not possible, Shiro. Show me your arm. She tugs on my arm before I can reply, then stares at it. I realize I'm holding my breath. I may have gotten used to her being around, but I'm definitely not used to her being so close. It really does look like there's nothing wrong. I see a few places that are black, like they're burned or bruised, but other than that, everything's healed. It's almost like the flesh grew back like new. Tosaka mutters quietly to herself as she inspects my arm. Hey. As if that weren't enough to leave me beet red. Your body really is unbelievable. This isn't how normal healing works. Your natural healing is obviously being bolstered by something external, but this, you healed this yourself. Rin lifts my sleeve up, presses her fingers along my arm. Hey, stop that! So that's enough, Tosaka. Go sit back down if you're done. I'm examining you, you know. Oh, I get it. Tosaka leans closer to me. You say your fever's gone down, but I'm not so sure. Your face is glowing. That's for me to worry about. It's none of your business, so leave me alone. Oh, really? Then I'm suppose me doing this won't be a problem, right? Well, don't put your hand on my forehead. I don't have a fever, so there's no point to this. No, apparently not. Even your ears are red now. You don't look like you have a fever. You looks more like you're drunk. She's doing this on purpose. This is deliberate, I know it. Tosaka, you know exactly what you're doing, don't you? I think she does. Tosaka is a tease. She knows what she's got. And she knows how to work it. You got me. I was just enjoying your reactions. Too funny. Anyone who would toy with a man's innocent feelings like that should do their repentance in hell. Well, she did summon actually Satan, according to abridged lore. But, you say that now, Shiro. Just wait until the last route when we do Unlimited Blade Works. Then you'll be singing a different tune. Well, I'll stop teasing here. If I push it, I might end up having to suffer the consequences. That's a problem. I feel like Tosaka's only teasing me harder now. Tosaka, might I remind you that this is serious and I'm here to learn from you. Oh, I'm sorry. That's been my intention from the start. I was only checking on my student's health just now. Oh yeah? So you're gonna get to the day's topic then? Yes, I suppose so. We're stepping outside my specialty here, so I can only offer advice, but it's better than if I didn't say anything at all. To be honest, that last lesson I gave you was probably the last of the help I can offer. You can't just learn to be a mage in a few lessons. All I did was install a switch inside you that you hadn't learned to use. You know that much at least, right? You mean that jewel? Yeah, ever since I swallowed it, I've been able to turn my magic circuits on and off without creating them from scratch, every time. Yep, that's about the only thing I can teach you in such a short time. But even that was just your previous training asserting itself. I can only boost the magecraft you've already learned. I'm not going to teach you other forms of magecraft. You just don't have the talent. Excuse me. Yeah, you being so blunt about that was enlightening. But you can at least give me some advice on the magecraft I can use, right? So tell me what kind of magecraft I used last night. Excuse me. Tosaka doesn't answer. She's just glaring at me like I'm her worst enemy. This is supposed to be a lecture, right? I get nervous when you go all quiet like that. She looks away, frowning. It's only a brief flicker of her expression, though. I can't. I can't do projection magecraft, and I can't teach something I don't know how to do. Something you can't do? Wasn't what I used against Berserker pretty basic for a mage? I just imagined the structure and let magical energy flow into it. It's no different than strengthening magecraft. But flooding your own magical energy into something that's already formed is difficult. It's like adding what you think is red to an existing mixture of paints to draw out the red hue. We'll end up with something completely different color. By comparison, it's much easier to work with my own paint from the very beginning. I can just draw out whatever I want that way. What do you mean you can't do it? I'm sure you can do that kind of thing. It's much easier than strengthening. You know, if you said that to any other mage, they'd definitely kill you. What you did was called projection, and you perfectly replicated a noble phantasm. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. You saw it plenty of times, though. A chill runs down my spine. It's not my imagination. Tosaka is actually angry. It doesn't matter. I had a feeling this was the case when I saw all the junk in your shed. There's no point in being mad about you at this stage. Let me explain because you're clearly confused. What you did was called projection magecraft. It's an imperfect magecraft that creates mere images of existing artwork or famed swords using your own magical energy. It's generally used to create temporary objects to be used as stand-ins for rituals. Things you can create from images in your mind are understood to be imaginary objects, so they disappear quickly. Huh? I get that they're replicas created from a mental image. I saw a saber sword in my dream and then imagined a golden sword based on it. I don't really get it. Magical energy is like clay, right? Reproduction or no, what you make shouldn't disappear once the object takes form, right? That's not possible. Magical energy can only exist within your body. That's why you pass magical energy through yourself. You need it to interact with nature. Sure, I can need magical energy like a piece of soft candy to at least make a dagger. But it stops there. It's nothing more than candy in the shape of a dagger. As soon as the magical energy dissipates, the dagger disappears too. Listen, things made purely from magical energy do not last long. They only briefly take shape. Well, but projection magecraft creates an object to look and perform like the original. She's right. Magical energy has no shape. I can feel it while it's flowing through my body. Once it leaves, it thins out and eventually disappears entirely. But then, no matter how many blueprints I make in my mind and form with magical energy, everything will fade because it's made for magical energy. Now that I think about it, when Kiritsuga was teaching me magecraft, I showed him my half-assed attempt at projection, but he told me to stick to strengthening because what I was doing was inefficient. I see, so projection consumes a lot of magical energy and there's no point in using it because what you make disappears immediately. Exactly. For example, let's say you used a decent amount of magical energy to create a sword. All that energy you use might get to you a sword whose power we'd rate at maybe a 3 or a 4. Human imagination is unreliable, filled with holes, so it's almost impossible to replicate anything accurately. Now let's use the same magical energy to strengthen a sword. That same amount of magical energy can make the sword 20 to 30 times stronger, which means it would last a few hundred times longer than anything you create with projection. Got it? Projection magecraft is only used for rituals. Its sole use is creating replicas which disappear the moment they're used, and then only used as a substitute for tools you can't normally create or get a hold of. Your father made the right call teaching you strengthening. You have only so many magical circuits to begin with, so if he taught you something as wasteful as projection, he'd be no better than an amateur himself. I got that. But what was that then? The golden sword I imagined was real for a moment. I even had the real sword's power. Was it just a freak accident that I projected Saber's sword then? Now that I think about it, the amount of magical energy in that sword was remarkable. Replicating something like that ends up with a few hundred times the magical energy I myself have does seem pretty weird. Well, you have an affinity for swords. Mages all have connections to something. For you, it's clearly swords. It means your origin. Connections? You mean elements like fire or water. Right. Normally a person takes one of the elements that makes up this world. The Mage Association considers fire to be normal, wind to be noble. It could be earth, water, fire, or ether. Or it could be wood, fire, soil, metal, or water. The mage has a connection to one of these, but there are also those with more specific connections. Most of these mages don't see any time in the spotlight. They're considered unusual. So in your case, you're connected with swords. It's pretty specific. That means you could be the authority in swords. I see. That's probably true. I've always been fascinated with swords. Now I'm curious about Tosaga's specialty. Knowing her, it's probably fire or wind or something else that'd suit someone like her, but I should probably just ask since I'm curious. What's your specialty? I think it's average one if my memory serves. She has an affinity to everything except ether? Mine. My connection is with the 5 elements. Oh, I guess she does have ether. Does she mean all of them? Anyway, that's pretty much that. They say projection is about as useful as images on a screen, so try not to use it too much. Besides, trying to replicate Saber's sword was suicidal. You made it work this time, but I wouldn't be surprised if you just exploded. Yeah, exploding is never a good thing, you know? Never is a good thing to just explode randomly. Spontaneous human combustion has been disproven for a long time, Shiro Emiya. Do not make it proven once again. Do not make it speculated upon once again. You said it yourself, Saber's sword has more magical energy than you ever could. You do realize creating something like that goes way beyond the limits of your magic circuits, right? Yeah, I know, but it's not so easy to go beyond your own limits, right? I thought I couldn't go any further anyway, because I was already at my limit to begin with. Oh, you absolutely can, and death is always lurking right around that corner. If magecraft follows a certain form or format, it means any mage can use any magecraft they have knowledge of. Even if they're not ever actually able to pull off that miracle, they'll still take a shot. That is some weird sentence structure. Even if they're not ever able. Just say even if they're never able. Not ever is just never. Actually, not ever actually. Like, just say never. That is so much simpler and less wordy. Hey, J6, welcome to the stream. How be things? How be things? Been lurking for a while? Yeah, I've seen that the viewer count's been at 2 for a little while. Mages are only a source of power. Even a small engine can reach a high speed if you push the gas hard enough, but it tends to be self-destructive. Who is this? Rin Tosaga does not know about modern technology. Same with mages. If they're willing to accept the risk of destroying themselves, mages can certainly push past their limits. Doing so burns magic circuits and shreds nerves, but if they keep going, they can reach the miracle they seek. Just figure you would confuse the sentence structure to distract me. Weird. Your projection is that. Your body felt feverish after that battle because your nerves were seared. That's the price you pay for magecraft beyond your own means. What you did could easily have cost you a limb or two. Tosaka's voice grows a little louder. Well, it's a good thing Shiro Emiya has supernatural healing capabilities. So he can afford to burn his nerves. They'll just heal. I'm pretty sure that's the extent of his regeneration. Because, I mean, he did regenerate his whole digestive tract after having his stomach slashed open and guts spilled on the ground from Berserker. So I'm pretty sure he can regenerate a few lost nerves. Pretty sure. You hate your laptop's keyboard? Sometimes it doesn't type. It's old. I mean, that would just mean your laptop is old, isn't it? At the same time, that's why you should always keep in mind, practicing magecraft that goes beyond its caster's limits lead only to ruin. Promise me you won't project Saber Sword ever again. Tosaka is worried about me. Genuinely. Yeah, my laptop's getting up there in age as well. I honestly don't know how old, though. I'd have to see how old my credit card is, because this laptop that I've got, I bought with my first ever credit card. I maxed the card out and then paid the rest of it with my own money. After her warning, Tosaka prescribed some medicine I'm not familiar with. What's up, J6? Well, there's probably no point telling you not to push yourself. At least for our peace of mind, take that painkiller if anything happens. If all goes well, your bruised and discolored skin might heal. Like $1,300? Tosaka explains this as she prepares some kind of green powdery medicine. I got my first credit card was $1,000 max. Because it was for school and for fun. And this was before I had a PC. So, this was before I was PC Master Race. So my laptop was my PC for the longest time. I drink it with some tea. Mine is an HP Omen with an Intel i7 core and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX graphics card. Tosaka rummages through her stuff and tries to prescribe some other medicine. Anyway, I feel bad for Tosaka having to go through all her stuff just for me, but I feel like I'm wasting time just sitting here. I should. Okay, you've been using this laptop for playing for school and playing shooting games. That's cool. Alright, so... Oh, too many buttons. So, what should we do as Shiro Emiya? Should we just remain quiet? In other words, does Shiro Emiya ever shut up? The answer to that is no. Question 1, that just feels like that feels like it's an error. Question 1, that doesn't feel right. What is question 1? I want to click question 1 just to find out what question 1 means. Like, what question are we trying to get answered? You know? I kind of want to know. But given that I do know what Shiro's deal is, asking more about projection is probably the way to go. Plus, I am going to be revisiting all the dialogue options when I complete a route. So, I guess we're going to ask more about projection in detail, because Yeah, Shiro is insensitive, he's misogynistic, and he's not that bright. So we're just gonna ask about projection. Excuse me. Yeah, I think I got what projection magecraft is all about, but I want more detail. Especially the part about taking an image and giving it shape. Hey, Tosaka, sorry to interrupt you, but... What is it? If you're about to tell me to hurry up, I'm about to kick you. I'm so irritated now, because I can't find what I'm looking for. Why does everything I put disappear in this house? She complains to herself as she searches. Classic Tosaka. I mean, you know, when Ilya picked up on the fact that that Saber has a thing for Shiro, after seeing them interact for like a couple of hours, and Shiro did not pick that up, he's also kind of got the emotional depth of a teaspoon. Especially the part where she stumbles into the preparation phase, even though she executes everything else flawlessly. Come on, forget about it. Can you just tell me more about what we were discussing earlier? That stuff about how projections are replicas created using images. Fine, this might even be useful for you anyway. She's definitely in a bad mood. She tells us aside the duffel bag she's been roaming through and plops down in a chair. Okay, let me explain. You only use projection when there's something you need but don't have on hand. Alternatively, you can create things that don't normally exist in this world or have been long thought lost. If you can imagine every detail of the real thing, you can temporarily bring it into being with magical energy. Remember, I mentioned that how anything you project disappears because the magical energy disperses, right? No matter how strong the magical energy is, anything you project will gradually fade away. But that's not all. The world simply won't allow such an illusion to remain. Which is why anything you project won't even last a day in the real world. I think that holds true for every route. What do you mean the world won't allow it? Well, Shiro, let me tell you about Gaia. Illusions can do anything precisely because they're illusions. Once an illusion takes shape through it, it becomes reality. But those things do not exist in reality. In order to resolve that contradiction, reality sweeps in to dispose of the illusion. Listen, magecraft is meant to take things that exist and make them into something else. Transformation. Equivalent exchange. So alchemy. But if that principle doesn't hold for illusions, if you, using an image of something that doesn't exist, create that thing in the real world, it becomes a contradiction. That's why when you project something like Saber's sword, which shouldn't exist in this age, the world itself will destroy that illusion. And it's great to create a miracle by connecting to the world, but creating a miracle that doesn't exist at all, that's forbidden. Normal magecraft is about bringing something real, something that does exist somewhere in the world to you, so you can use it. But projection magecraft creates something from an image in a person's mind. Even magecraft can't create something which doesn't exist. Trying to think if there's any contradictions to that in any bit of Fate-related media. Magecraft can't create something which doesn't exist. I can't think of any contradictions off the top of my head. Because magecraft is very vast, and what does and does not exist is also just as vast. It's an illusion that violates the laws of this world. In the same way a living creature's first priority is self-preservation, the world always seeks to protect its own integrity. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, it does mean that the eldritch things that Caster Giles summoned in the Fourth Holy Grail War did exist. The life of a world is all about order, which is why I always crush any illusions which might disrupt that order or intrude on reality itself. So now she's talking reality marbles. Tosaka explains it rapidly all in one breath. I certainly didn't know that. I don't understand half of it. I see, so what I did was way beyond my limit. That's what I've been saying! Projection magecraft can shorten your life, so don't use it, even if Saber begs you to. That's why his hair turns silver. He's shortening his life. Okay. And I thought the Counterforce just had a thing for tan skin and pale silver hair. Tosaka resumes rummaging through her stuff. As I watch her blankly, I'm reminded again that me beating Berserker really was a miracle. Just an ordinary miracle, a miracle today. And after giving me several medications, Tosaka instructs me to do simple strengthening exercises while we keep an eye on how my body reacts. Apparently she's checking to see that nothing's wrong inside of me when I use magical energy. Honestly, Tosaka seems more like a doctor than a teacher today. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any problems. You probably don't need to come here tomorrow then. That's a bit of a surprise. I don't have to come tomorrow. That means... Yep, there's nothing else I can teach you. If you want to focus on learning magecraft, you should do it after the war. Besides, with Archer gone, my alliance with you is long over. What? I suddenly realize our alliance was only so we could beat Berserker. Now that Berserker's gone and Tosaka doesn't have a servant anymore, our living arrangement should be over. Should have ended yesterday, even. So, what are you going to do now, Tosaka? Are you going to Kotomene's place? That'd probably be the normal thing to do. Tosaka and Father Kotomene are student and disciple, so it shouldn't be an issue for her to go asking him for protection. Why? Of course I'm not going there. I haven't lost yet. There's no reason I can't fight without a servant. Besides, running away really isn't my style. I decided to fight, so I'm seeing this through to the end. Wow, hypocritical. Was Tosaka not the one to say that the servants are the ones that do the fighting at the very beginning of this Grail War? Now she's saying that she can fight even though she does not have a servant. Hypocritical, Tosaka. Hypocritical. Says this like it's the most obvious thing in the world. And she's proud about that. My eyes widen. Well, okay, maybe not. I should have expected this from Tosaka. She's unbelievably stubborn, absolutely selfish, and captivatingly brilliant. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to go out on your own now? Steel Baber? True, that is a possibility. There are still servants and masters left. Let's see, I think I'll stay here a while to gather information. I should resume my research on Ryoto Temple too. You're gonna stay here? Are you sure? It'd be a big help if you stayed, but our alliance ended, so... What are you talking about? We managed to beat Berserker thanks to Archer. Our alliance may have ended, but you still owe me, and that's why you're obviously going to let me use your place until you fully repaid your debt. Besides, I said I would take responsibility until the end. You and I were teacher and student, even if it was brief. I'd be so worried about you if I left you to your own devices. I wouldn't be able to concentrate on the Holy Grail War. You know, Rin is the actual harem protagonist here, I think. Like, when you really think about it, Rin could totally seduce either Shiro or Saber. So she could seduce both of them. I think Rin is the true harem protagonist of the Fate Stay Night franchise, of the original Fate Stay Night. Oh, right. I mean, she also has, Shinji, technically speaking, but she doesn't want him and nobody wants Shinji, so we just don't mention that. But she technically has his affections, and Issei, you know, he could be a tsundere for her. He could be a tsundere for Rin, Issei could. Media would probably be fine with Rin, let's be honest here. Media would probably respect Rin. So, you know. Extra Shinji is cool, that's true. That is true. So yeah, I think Rin might be the true harem protagonist of Fate Stay Night. I'm actually very happy. That's the Tosaka I've always known and liked. Besides, if I ever saw the day a girl as stubborn as her gives up, I wouldn't know what to believe from then on. Yeah, thanks for sticking around, Tosaka. Whatever else I might say, I wouldn't know what to do without you. See when I need you, Tosaka. That's fine, but don't say stuff like that. You're stupidly honest, yeah, but be careful about what you say. You could give people the wrong idea. Huh? I'm not sure why that upset Tosaka so much. What do you mean I might give people the wrong idea? What wrong idea? The emotional depth of a teaspoon. Unbelievable. It just wasn't appropriate, okay? My whole attitude should make it clear I wasn't asking you, so drop it. Tosaka must be aware of some secret rule I'm not. Good grief. I feel bad. Saber's got it tough. But then again, that's probably why you two work. You and Saber have to be both pretty friggin' dense, or you'd never last. So make them both yours, Rin. Give in to the dark side. Make them both yours. Okay. I still don't get it, but I didn't miss what you said about feeling bad for Saber. What do you mean she has it tough? This is exactly what I'm talking about. I bet you haven't even noticed the changes in Saber. Changes in Saber? And it's not about her appearance, right? If anything would have changed in Saber... Alright, she has been acting weird since this morning. No, I thought she was just in a bad mood because Ilya was with us. She just sat there all stiff and quiet, and when I asked if something was wrong, she got up and left, saying something about having had a dream. And I pretty much forgot about it and all the hustle and bustle over Ilya. Yeah, Saber's been a little off since this morning, like her head is somewhere else. Saber said she had a dream. And that's the bit that surprises you. And now she's ignoring me. Hey, don't go quiet on me. That face you're making has me nervous. Oh, it's nothing major. It's just that servants don't typically dream. Huh? Servants don't dream? That's right, servants don't dream. But if she says she did, then it wasn't a dream. It was someone's memory. Maybe Tosaka experienced it before. The coldness in her voice runs so counter to our usual cheerfulness. So Saber saw one of Shiro's memories, maybe. And now it's time to prepare dinner. With so much happening these past few days, I thought the whole cooking rotation had gone out the window. But then... I'll leave dinner to you tonight. Looks like it's going to be a cold night. Between that and Ilya being here, maybe you can make stew. She just steps out of her room as she speaks. Oh yeah, I guess stew would be perfect for Ilya. But maybe it's the hat and coat she wears that makes me think of that. Whatever the case, I don't have a problem making stew for dinner. I'm no expert at Western dishes like stew, but I don't think I can really mess up something like that. Okay, but before that, it's a little before 6 o'clock. I still have some time before I need to cook. No, dinner needs to be eaten before 6. But like 5 o'clock is the latest you should be eating dinner, man. We've had training, so I've done my share of sweating today. Seems like now would be a good time to take a bath. Taking a bath before dinner might be a hassle, but Tosaka and Saber usually do it right after dinner, so it would be pretty late by the time it was my turn. Alright, I'm ready to tab out. That's way too late, man. I eat dinner at like 4 o'clock. The hallway is cold. The heaters have the rooms nice and warm, but once I'm out in the hallway, I can still feel the wintry chill. Fuyuki's winters are typically warm, but the weather's been screwy these past few days. Okay, if it's because of classes, then that is completely fine. I can understand that classes keeping you from eating dinner until later is perfectly understandable. So I take back my statement. You are okay, J6. Speaking of cold, it looks like it snowed. I must have not noticed because it only lasted for less than an hour and didn't snow a large amount. Even if it ended at 2... I take back my statement partially. On days where you do not have to force yourself to eat late, you should eat dinner early. If there had been much snow on the ground, my yard would be packed with an entire army of snowmen, which really sucks to clean up. In that case, I'm glad it didn't snow much. Of course, the snowman army would be the work of a single person. I can't help but smile at her when I remember when it snowed last year and her cold, reddened hands gripping the lectern. That's what your family does for the past decade. Ah. Okay, so it's just a traditional thing to eat that late. That's fair, then. That is fair. My whole family tends to eat dinner later as well. I eat early, and they say I'm an old man for it, but I cannot eat too late. Like, I cannot eat a 7 or 8 o'clock dinner, because then I cannot fall asleep. Okay, I need to be ready to tab out, just in case this is an inappropriate scene. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. Yes, because old people apparently eat their dinner at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was thinking of taking a shower, but the bathroom is already warm. Saber, I hear something moving in the water. I strain my eyes, trying to see in the bathtub through the haze of steam. Okay, it's debatable, but it's fine for now. My mind goes blank as white sheets of steam filling the bathroom. My throat closes up. I can't get a word out. My brain stops working. I'm paralyzed. But in the back of my mind, I recall something similar happening. I'm not going to take too much time to pause reading dialogue because I want to get off this screen as quickly as possible. Actually, the exact same thing has already happened. Last time I was dressed and Saber wasn't. Not this time. Oh, Saber. The only sound is my own loud gulping. Saber freezes, watching me as I stand there, dumbfounded. She's going to get mad. Here it comes. I'm going to die. Her soft lips begin to tremble. Any second now, she's going to start yelling. Sorry, it's my fault. I was going to use the shower. Well, I didn't think anybody would be using the bathroom at this hour, but yeah, I should have figured it out earlier, but... I ramble out a lame excuse as I step backward, trying to head back to the changing room. It's not that I'm gawking at Saber, but for some reason it feels like I'm making a mad dash for the changing room would just make Saber angrier. The truth of the matter is, I can't take my eyes off her. Okay. Scene is done. Whew. But why does she still have her hair up? That feels like it would be awkward to have... I don't know. I've never had hair that long. But would you want your hair up while you're bathing? I don't know. Your grandparents eat at the same time, so you don't know where that belief came from. I don't know. It's just something my family says, that I'm an old man for eating at 4 in the afternoon. I recall Saber's warmth, how close it was. Her body was so frail and slender. The heat of our bodies, even our heartbeats mingling, overlapped. At the time, I was just desperate to fix the problem. But now it all feels so tempting. Anyway, we can talk later. I try to reach behind me for the exit, and then... My apologies, Shiro. I know this is a selfish request, but would you mind leaving right now? Saber averts her gaze, her voice oddly muffled. Huh? Now I really don't know what to think. I'm not sure why Saber isn't mad. Seeing how embarrassed she looks causes blood to pound in my skull. Why? Can you leave? Why? Seriously, Shiro, you're an idiot. The words come out before I can stop myself. Saber looks down even more apologetically. Please wait a little longer to use the shower. Please permit me to use the space alone for the time being. Saber shrinks in on herself, hiding her body. And then I suddenly remember. When I ran into her in the changing room last time, Saber didn't say anything. Sex doesn't matter for servants. She said that. Appearances hadn't mattered to her. Oh, well, you see... Hold on, I can't find the right words. My head's spinning. Come on, work brain. So you're not mad, Saber? Why does it keep going back to this freaking scene? There's nothing wrong with you wanting to wash yourself. I have no right to limit my master's activities. I get it. Saber doesn't care what she looks like, or whether she has clothes on or not. That's why it's not weird for me to be here. The bathroom is a place to wash one's body, so my presence isn't strange. It doesn't matter whether Saber's here or not. Knowing that helps, but I have a feeling I'm wrong. You think? Wow, Shiro has a proper thought? That is right. So then I don't think it would be a problem if I use the shower right now, you know? Shiro, Emiya, you the balls on him. But I'm saying, well... I'm not concerned about being seen, but my body is not that of a younger girl like Rin. So, she blushes even more, tripping over her words. I don't want you to see too much of me. A man like you must find such a muscular body like mine unsightly. She sounds so bashful. Saber's not that muscular, let's be honest here. Saber is not pure muscle. I almost faint for just so many reasons. You fool. I would never think that. Saber's body is a long way from unsightly. She says she's rugged, but that's never bothered me. Sure, she's more muscular than Tosaka, but I still think Saber is very feminine. Shiro, that's why I would like you to leave me alone here. I don't know how to respond. I only remember nodding slightly and pulling the doors closed. Yeah, I mean, being muscular is worthy of respect. Because you gotta work it. You have to work hard to maintain proper muscles. Like, if she is toned, that would be so cool. I wish I was toned, but I'm not toned, or muscles. I mean, my calves are muscled, but, yeah, it's proof of hard work. I've got muscled calves, but that's kind of it. And so the day ends. Dinner was chaotic. Elia got chattier with each meal, and she and Tosaka have gotten this weird point. I'm not sure whether they're fighting or being friendly. Excuse me. Saber has accepted Ilia's presence here, but she hasn't warmed up to her. More than that, Saber gets pretty frowny whenever Ilia gets near me. These past few days have just been plain rough. The normal routine of just a few days ago has devolved into complete chaos. I'm trying to think, is there any servants that actually show, like any female servants in FGO that have a muscular physique? I think Penth, Zenobia, Barghest, female servants. J6 female servants. I think Penth, Zenobia, Barghest are the only three off the top of my head that I can think of that come off as actually muscular. Just trying to think, is there any others? Adelante, she's too covered up to really tell. She's very slender. She's way too covered to tell if she has any muscles. Definition. I step silently into the yard. It's just about time for the calendar to roll over to the next day. I walk beneath the pale light of the moon, leaving faint puffs of white breath in my wake. Next thing I know, I'm at work at my daily routine. Maybe Ken Liang Yu could be considered that way. She might be considered muscular. I don't really need to train out here since Tosaka is teaching me. But I still sit on the cold ground and check on the things I've been working on for so long. I'm not doing this because I'm worried about my skills. It's more I find doing it soothing. I've been doing this for years, so just not doing it would feel weird. Ibuki, yeah, that's a good example. Ibuki at the higher ascensions is muscled. She does have that toned muscle definition. I didn't really think of her just because I don't have her, and honestly, Ibuki, I don't really care for her as far as servants go. Like, she's very much a miss for me. I put even more effort into tonight's training. Tosaka told me not to do it anymore, but I can't just do as she says. If I can master this projection thing, it'd mean I could be a lot more helpful to Saber. And the heat from earlier is still lingering within me. A night at the ruins. The battle in the forest in the morning mist. The golden sword I created. The residual heat still lingers in my hands, and deep down I find myself hoping to reignite those flames. Creation, philosophy, appraisal. It's easy to recreate. At the time, I was so desperate that my mind was a jumble, but now I can reduce the necessary steps and form my incantation. No. From the very beginning, there has only been a single thing that could serve as a trigger for me. Maybe Altera. I've got the list of all the servants open, so I'm gonna look through them. No, Altera isn't toned. The pronunciation is the same. But just by changing my perception of how it's said, it'll become something entirely mine. My own original spell. Ooh, original spell. Shiro's getting fancy up in here. Ushi, maybe? Basic structure. Hypothesis. I know very well how dangerous this is. Tosaka doesn't need to remind me. Nope, Ushi is not toned. I really have no business getting anywhere near projection magecraft. It's completely beyond me. Venturing so brazenly into dangerous waters can lead only to death. Somebody's coming closer. End of hypothesis. Now, instant nothingness. I erase the blueprint that was in my head. A shadow falls across the door. Who's here? Who's here? Who's here? Is it gonna be Rin to tell him off? Maybe, maybe. Saber comes in, her frame blotting out the light of the moon. Oh, it's Saber. Good, you're here, Shiro. I could not find you and was worried something might have happened. No, nothing's happened. I couldn't sleep, so I came here to do some mental exercises. Once I finish, I'll head back to my room, so you don't need to worry. Shisho kind of is a little bit toned in her first ascension. Like, it's showing off her stomach, and it looks kind of like she's got some abs, but it's hard to tell. That Shisho was hit or miss. Oh, Mo. Did I forget Mo? Yeah, I'd say Mo has some muscle tone in her third ascension. You know, there's only one reason why I would never install this game. I like going through all the routes, but not Saber. I just don't want to go through hers. You could probably download a save file that has completed Saber's route, you know. I see. That's fine then. Saber focuses on my forehead. She can probably see that I'm dripping with sweat. It's always like this. Don't worry. Mages have to practice their magecraft. And, well, failure comes with the territory for an amateur like me. Is there any particular reason why you have such a hatred for Saber, out of curiosity, J6? I wipe the sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. I'm surprised. My sweat is cold as ice. I thought it was cold, but I don't remember the shed being quite this cold. Have you been doing this every day? Well, yeah, as much as I possibly could. It's a daily routine that my old man taught me, so I should at least keep to it. She's boring and you hate her personality. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's good enough justification for me. If you find her boring and hate her personality, that's fine. So then you must be happy that FGO does not have baseline Saber with such a big role. As soon as I finish speaking, I regret my bluff. I regret telling her this is my daily routine. My intent was to boast to Saber. At the end of the day, my training isn't just some chore to me. But it isn't the easiest of tasks either. Saber says nothing. The moon hangs behind her, its light spilling around her frame. You hate most versions of Saber. What versions of Saber do you not hate, then? Then, the shed, plunged into bluish darkness, is illuminated by a few shafts of silvery light that make it past Saber. You especially hate the Lancer variant. So the one with possibly the most personality is the one you hate most. That's kind of interesting. Just because the Lion King kind of got a ton of... Actually, no, I guess the Lion King didn't really get a lot of personality exposition. Lion King was kind of blank emotionally and was not that good of a person. Tosaka said something to me today. The moment felt just like a dream. Is it true that servants don't dream? I can't stop myself from asking. That is correct. We do not have dreams. Servants are spiritual forms, and so do not sleep to begin with. I am forced to sleep because I cannot turn into a spiritual form, but I still do not dream. But this morning, you said... Man, even Summer Martha, who is a boxer, does not have muscle definition. You can tolerate Salter to an extent. Achan, you have no opinion on... Achan, you have no opinion on, and you hate MHX. Okay, so Salter, Achan, you have no opinion, and you hate MHX. So, Lancer, Lancer Saber, you hate. I'm guessing that Lalter is another no opinion. You do hate Lalter, even though she has had, like, probably some of the least amount of lines of any non-berserker servant in FGO. You hate Lolter. There is a brief silence. She closes her eyes, then, apparently having made up her mind. The dream I had, Shiro, was yours. Master and servants are mentally connected. If the connection becomes strong enough, there are times where they will experience each other's memories. I'm guessing you don't consider Castoria or Morgan variants of Saber, then. You dreamed of my past. Yes, it's tantamount to stepping into your mind, but I was not able to prevent it from happening. Please forgive me for that, Shiro. Don't. I did the same thing. Saber's past. I've seen several scenes from her life before she became a servant now. Don't be silly. That's not your fault. You can't help what you dream about. And I have to apologize too. My past is pretty boring. Seeing something that boring probably makes you not want to have to sleep. No, this morning was the first such dream I had. I did not see anything recent, so I do not infringe upon your privacy as a young man. Morgan is waifu. Castoria is a neutral one, but you do find her the most interesting. So, what about Artoria Avalon, who is distinctly different from Castoria? Saber is dead serious about that warning. But privacy? Well, yeah, sure. I've done my share of dumb things. That's a relief. But if you're saying you don't see any recent memories, then how far in the past did you see? So, essentially, in Lost Belt 6, Castoria's life ends as soon as she burns herself out facing Sir Nunus, and Artoria Avalon is the one that we summon for the Oberon fight, and the one that we actually have at Chaldea. That is all Artoria Avalon. Castoria's life ended in Avalon Le Fay, in the fight against Sir Nunus, when she burned herself out. That is the end of Castoria's life. And Artoria Avalon just has all of Castoria's memories. You see them as the same person. Okay, fair enough. There was a large fire. That's all I saw. Her voice is quiet. Her gentle gaze tells me what she saw. Oh. That image was never in the fire before. Hold up. That image is a foreshadowing image that was never in the Fuyuki fire. I see. Well, I don't know what to say. Should I say it was unfortunate? It's like going to a movie theater expecting to see a movie you know, but you somehow end up in the wrong theater and end up getting a completely different show. That image was in Heaven's Feel, yeah. I thought it was either the Heaven's Feel or Unlimited Blade Works, where you see the Grail starting to manifest. That was my thoughts. In the movies, that was the movie version. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was an image from the movies too. Or rather, that the movies had that image. It helped me to understand... No. I've been thinking this for some time now, but you have a dangerous side to you. What do you mean dangerous? Oh, yeah, I'm sure the odds are pretty stacked against me, from your point of view. That's not what I mean. You're very similar to me. That's why I understand your mistakes. I can see what might happen to you if you continue on this path. I don't think I've made any mistakes. Sure, I've failed plenty of times, but my goal is to be a champion of justice like my old man. A goal like that can't be mistaken. No way. Hero of justice! Hero! Like, seriously, translation team, you know, it's been hero of justice for years. Change it. He does not want to be a champion of justice. He wants to be a hero of justice. A hero. Hero. I am telling you, that is your mistake. Shiro, what happened on that day was not your fault. You cannot and should not take responsibility for it. There's nothing you need to redeem yourself for. I mean, I never played the VN either, and that's kind of why I'm playing it. That's obvious. It was just an accident, and I was just a victim. Sure, I may be dealing with survivor's guilt. Excuse me, by the way. Ring once said that your self-sacrifice and devotion are bizarre, and I agree. You're not sacrificing your life to save others. In fact, at no point did you even consider your own life. Hang on, I think I might have found another... it's hard to tell. I imagine Quetzalcoatl is another, female servant with developed muscles. Quetz is probably another one with developed muscles. You don't hate Proto-Arthur. That's fair. Proto-Arthur is another Arthur. What about Saber Lily? That's a Saber you haven't mentioned. Maybe my pupils have dilated. I'm not sure why, but I can't seem to focus on Saber's face. You hate her, even though her NP literally is blasting the male servants in the crotch for maximum damage? You don't even find that funny? You'll never be able to forget that accident, but as long as you remember it, you can't change. Is that not extremely painful for you? Painful? For me? Oh yeah, that's painful. That's the part that hurts you the most. Fair enough. I guess that's fair enough, but, you know, if there was a male servant I really hated that was on a repeatable quest, I would definitely take Saber Lily there just to keep blasting them with her NP. It's obvious. So many people have died. It was absolute hell. Something like that causing you pain is only natural. And besides, if I didn't feel that, it might all be meaningless. Yeah, you're right. It is painful to remember. But it's in the past now. There's nothing I can do about it. Saber doesn't answer. Instead, she claws at her arm in frustration. I must obtain the Holy Grail. But that also applies to you, Shiro. Okay. So you're feeling sympathy pain for all of Saber Lily's victims. Well, I thought you just hated Bunny Toria, to be fair. I thought you just hated the fact that Bunny Toria was a thing. Saber. You require the Holy Grail. Your summoning me was ultimately inevitable, Master. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm going to go to bed. Please do not strain yourself overmuch. Saber leaves. I fold my arms and think. Do I need the Holy Grail? A vessel that grants its wish to its possessor. A vessel which contains unlimited quantities of magical energy, for which is said, nothing is impossible. Were I to get it, it could easily grant my wish. No, that's wrong. No matter how much I look at it, I don't need the Holy Grail. Nope, I definitely don't need it. Because I don't have any wish that can't come true, or hope for anything that's impossible. I wouldn't have a dream if it were something I could attain myself. If it weren't something I could attain myself. Dreams tend to be a wish that your heart makes when you're fast asleep. The night grows darker. In the familiar old shed lit only by the moon, I listen to the distant wind. Actually, have you ever seen a low kick for a giraffe? No, I've not. But actually, J6, I thought of another variant of Saber. What do you think of Baber? You never gave me your opinion on Baber. You know, from Abridged. Do you hate that version as well? You hate that version as well? Oh, that's hilarious. The sky is gray, the hill crimson with corpses. The heavy clouds drift away, heralding the battle's end. I know the scene. I've seen it so many times now. This is one of Saber's battles. She fought and won so many victories. Scenes like this are almost commonplace for her. Afterwards, she will return to her castle where victory will be praised and celebrated. Then she will prepare for the next battle. This is just life for her. It is only one of the 12 great battles she fought, and so she does not truly remember victory so much as she just accepts it as a fact. I think she's misguided. This is not a dream. It's just a cold reality. Her past that can't be changed. Except she wants to change it. The moment she drew the sword, she stopped being human. She took over for her father as a feudal lord, and became a king with many knights. She was known as King Arthur and Artoria. The life of the girl who once aspired to be a knight changed so radically. No. Was forced to end her life as she knew it, might be a better way of putting it. In that instant, the girl who still had such childlike features ceased to be, and became the king of knights. She acted like she was the king's son. The ruler of territories and knights had to be male. Only her father and the mage knew the king was female. She covered herself in iron and hid the truth for the rest of her life. I don't know why I never realized the implications until now. As much public exposure as she had, she managed to pass herself off as male the whole time. The sheer suffering she likely endured was incredible, but a simple observer could never really understand. Time passes. 10 years worth of memories as king. And there was only one common thread that entire time. Even when she's on the throne. Even when she's walking through the hallway. Even when she's on the battlefield. Not a soul spoke to her. Even the round table, filled as it was with knights boasting of their valor, always fell silent the moment the king appeared. Okay, they've totally retconned this bit of lore. Hang on. FGO has totally retconned this bit of lore because Saber was friends with so many of the round table knights. They definitely retconned this. They had to have. So that's what it meant. She was merely tolerated as... Yeah, she was not just tolerated. She was respected. I'm guessing this is Saber's point of view, so maybe this is how she thought it was. Many knights looked down on Artoria, her boyish appearance, and were ultimately not comfortable in trusting her with their blades. But because she managed to draw the sacred sword that no one else could, they had to obey, even if only to keep up their appearances. They just accepted their disgrace, believing it would pass. Sacred sword or no, the king was merely a child. Even with Merlin's support, the king would surely fail eventually. When that happens, they need only take the sacred sword from her and select a new king. That's probably what most of the knights thought. Good lord, if this is Saber's thoughts, man. Well, that's not how it went. The knight, only just reaching adulthood, was a flawless king. She enforced peace among squabbling lords and fought off invaders as well. Of course, this wasn't due to the sacred sword's powers. The sacred sword only protects the king. The king, on the other hand, protects their nation. And through her deeds, she was able to maintain control of her knights. The sacred sword protects her only from her enemies. It does nothing to help her hold sway over the hearts of her subjects. She worked herself to the bone to be the ideal king to all. At that point, the knights had no choice but to obey. They held their dissatisfaction for the young king in check, because the king was truly perfect. She strived to be an ideal king. The only condition for the knights' support was that their king be exactly that, the ideal king. There was no room for Artoria to be a human being. She could be a king, and only a king. The peerless knight who drew the sacred sword, who stopped aging from that moment, and who went on to win 12 great wars. The more perfect she became, the more people stayed away from her. And as this continued, the king grew more and more isolated. That was who she was. But she did well. In fact, she did too well. She defeated her enemies and minimized her own side's casualties. No matter the battle, sacrifices must be made. So she believed it was her duty to make sacrifices, to bolster her army and to defeat the enemy without wasting lives. She would strip the resources from one village to prepare her army, then defeat the invaders before they could strike her land, saving perhaps 10 villages. That was the king's approach, and it proved the best strategy at the time. But the knights must have not been happy. To them, only the foreign invaders should have died, and the only true victory is made without any such sacrifices. There shouldn't be any need to sacrifice a territory before battle. They were going to win regardless, so the sacrifices were pointless. There wouldn't be any sacrifices, so the king's actions were a waste. It was, of course, total nonsense. Once battle began, the knights spared not a thought for those little villages. No one thought twice about trampling the villages. Protecting them was never consideration. The knights claimed there was nothing to be done with an enemy to destroy such villages, but to let them be destroyed is a great crime. Obviously she knew that, but a king cannot worry about their personal feelings. She had to kill her emotions to make her decisions, and her knights had to suppress their own feelings to obey. And so sacrifices are made, and that string of victories stabilizes the nation. and in return, animosity for the king grew. King Arthur just doesn't understand how people feel. So one night was heard to say as they left the castle, "What a ridiculous story. She was expected to not be human, but they hated her precisely because she didn't have human emotions." The age of war continued. The animosity of the knights who'd been dissatisfied with the king only grew more so after that knight left. They forced her to deal with every foreign and domestic enemy in hopes of pushing her over the edge. Collapse was imminent. If these many problems confronting the nation were never resolved, it would crumble. Even if all of them were to be resolved, what awaits is more of the same. But that did not concern the king. Even should she be abandoned, feared, or betrayed, she will remain steadfast, because she had long since made up her mind. She abandoned her emotions the moment she decided to draw that sword. This happened long, long ago. Excuse me. Knights from across the nation gathered to draw the sword from the stone, but none of them could do it, and the knights instead showcased their skill on horseback, eager to crown the best among them king. The knights flocked to the arena in droves. The sword and the stone lay outside, forgotten. From afar, it looked more like a festival. Even in the distance, the sound of valiant cavalrymen clashing is audible. The knights clashed in the distance, and the rock lay forgotten. What was going through the girl's mind as she stood in front of the rock? Before she realized it, an unknown mage stood behind her. How to build a collapsing foundation to a kingdom, 101. Yeah. Saber definitely needs some more self-esteem if she thought all of her knights hated her. Think before you take hold of that. I do wonder, is that Merlin's same VA as in FGO? Is there any way to tell? He tries to stop her for her own good. The moment you take that sword, you will cease to be human. He also warned her that many would hate her, and that she would die a gruesome death. She must have been terrified. The mage showed her the future. He showed her the end she would meet if she drew that sword. No. It only made her all the more determined. Even after seeing that future, she only gave a firm nod. The mage asked again if that is what she wanted. I saw many people smiling. Reason why Iskander's speech towards Saber holds the truth. True. Very true. I mean, they were all different kings with different values. So this cannot be a mistake. I think even Caster Gill would chide Saber for the way she treated things. Because Caster Gill sort of brought everybody to Uruk just to fight against, you know, Quetz, Gorgon, and Aresh. He would not have sacrificed one village to save them all. He would have brought all the villages to one central area and then just worked from there. She took the sword in her hand. The mage looked troubled and turned away. Miracles come at a price. You'll pay with what is most precious to you. He departed with those prophetic words. He departed for like a short time, and then he came back as her court magician. That's right. She just wanted to protect everyone. But to do so, she had to abandon her desire to protect people. She could not protect her country as its king if she still has a human heart. Even knowing this, she drew the sword. Even knowing this, she vowed to live as a king. So no matter what happened, she will remain steadfast. She abandoned her human heart. She was willing to give up that notion. She was willing to give that up to protect her nation. Who could have known the girl made such a noble oath? She was determined to fight. Come what may, and however might end. She still decided to fight. The way Saber did things did not account for her people, but seemed more for the survival of her kingdom from the outside view. Yeah, from an outsider's view, she was more concerned about the legacy of her kingdom than its people, which is ironic in a way, because that is kind of the same mindset that Morgan had in Lost Belt 6. She was more for ensuring that her kingdom survived, not the people. Even if an inevitable solitary doom awaited her. Yeah, it's only Fairy Camelot and not the people. Morgan did not care for the people. Okay, there was a few people she cared about. Let's be frank. There are a few people she cared about. She cared about Woodwoes because he was the descendant, I think, technically, of her dear companion. And she cared about Baoban because she was her daughter and was the only fairy that was ever nice to her. But yes, Morgan hated most of the fairies. Most of them. And would have gladly let most of them burn away as long as her kingdom stood tall. So I guess in a way, Saber and Morgan are kind of the same. In a way, they have the same kind of notion of ruling. They will do anything to protect the country at the cost of however many people it may be. Well, to be fair, I don't think she remembered Habitrot existed. Habitrot did seal herself away, and I can't honestly recall if Habitrot ever interacted with Morgan after waking up. Battle of Camlan. King Arthur set out on a campaign, and one of her knights usurped her throne, splitting the nation in two and sparking a terrible conflict. Wow, not even name-dropping Mo. Legend has it that this battle brought an end to knighthood and chivalry. She killed every knight who once served her, and... Okay. They have retconned so much of the lore. Like, look at this line. This line is a blatant false fact. She did not kill every knight who served her. She did not kill every knight who served her. Oh, they've retconned the lore so much. Yeah, I mean, she didn't kill Bedivere. Lancelot killed some of the knights that served her, let's be honest here. And I'm pretty sure in the end, Lancelot even runs away from Britain, if memory serves. So she doesn't even face Lancelot in the end. So this is just a blatant false statement. Wow, they've retconned the lore so much. There was no one left around her. As ever, nothing has changed. All she had in her heart was the pride of a king. She'd known about this ending. Still, she believed there was something to be gained from this failure, which is why she kept fighting without ever failing or disgracing herself. She has not regrets. If she were to have one, it would be seeing her nation in ruin. Some versions did kill Lancelot. I honestly didn't know that. I thought that the common consensus was that Lancelot, after freeing Guinevere, they both fled and left Britain to essentially to the ruins. Most versions, either Lancelot or Arthur is the good guy and the other one isn't. She raised her gaze. Maybe she would be able to see her castle in the distance from this hill. She only saw the aftermath of the battle, a dense forest, and a lake to which she must return. That's right. The hill she'd meant to charge over has become a wall she can't climb. Strength left her body. For the first time, she loosened her grip on the sacred sword. And that's where it ended. It was only natural that the dream would end here, since there is nothing beyond that moment in her memories. Lies! And that is why this end could not be rewritten. She worked so hard, and she was resented, betrayed. Nobody understood that she loved her people more than her nation. She came to be known as a merciless king. She was never rewarded or understood. On top of the crimson sword-strewn hill, the girl sat on the edge of death, isolated and betrayed. I wake to the sound of rain. It's morning. That was a long exposition dump on Saber's past. I grip my spinning head and sit up. It's just before 6 o'clock. The rain patters softly outside. That dream I just had. No, there's no doubt about it. It was Saber's past. It was the end of her life a long, long time ago. Nothing can change it now. I grit my teeth. I can hear them grinding. I don't know why, but I'm so mad. Damn, what the hell was that? Just thinking about it pisses me off. Her past, the fact that she didn't think anything of it, me thinking the dream was nothing before. I hate it. I don't even understand why, but it's making me angry. I don't like it. I don't like it one damn bit. No matter how you slice it, her life was just unfair. So unfair. She only wanted to help people. She wanted nothing for herself. But as hard as she worked, nobody understood her. Not even at the very end. That really... Gotta remember, this is the first entry into the Fate franchise, and they've retconned so much of this. It's so unfair. That's right. If she worked harder than anyone, and she doesn't receive any reward, it's all just a bunch of crap. She should be rewarded for everything she's done. But how could that happen at this point? Just tell her she did a good job? Do I tell her how wonderful she was? She didn't make the effort to be understood. But that's the thing! Some of her knights did like her. Some of her knights considered her friends. Mordred wanted to understand. Mordred wanted to take the burden from Saber. It's just, the characterization of this in the original is just so weird with all we know. Of course not. Nothing so simple could ever do her justice. I know. There's only one answer. Yeah, that's right. If she's to be rewarded, the work she devoted her life to should be repaid. Artoria needs happiness to match all the battles she fought. Saber just made things worse? Yeah. Again, I feel like we're seeing... these dreams are from Saber's perspective, which is why she thinks nobody liked her. You know? She is the stereotypical popular kid that doesn't know she's popular and thinks everybody is just making fun of her behind her back. But then, what can I do? I'm out of ideas. I don't have any idea how to make people happy. I'm just useless at this kind of thing. My entire life, I wanted to be a hero of justice, but all I ever did was lend a hand here and there. I believed everyone around me would be happy if I just helped people. Or rather... I couldn't face myself if I didn't believe that. Helping people and saving people are very much not the same thing. And if I don't understand the difference myself, I can't possibly reward Saber. Breakfast is the same as usual. I get the sense Saber and Tosaka are pretty adaptable since they've already gotten used to Ilya being here. You prefer HI third? What is that? I've never heard of that. What is HI third? So, what are you going to do, Shiro? There are 3 masters left. The Holy Grail War isn't exactly never-ending, so you should think about making a move soon. Always being the one reacting to everyone else isn't a good look. Tosaka's right. There's nothing wrong with me physically, and Saber's completely healed. Ah, Honkai. So, King Arthur was betrayed by Merlin, quote-unquote. We should be done resting as of yesterday. You're right. You say we need to make a move, but it'll have to be at night. We're going to do the same things we've been doing during the day. Are you serious? Well, I guess it wouldn't do us for good if we just aimlessly wander around with no information about our opponents. So, Saber's gonna beat you up again today? He never knew Merlin's goals, even though he made it abundantly clear. That's fair. How can you betray someone if you don't know what they were actually planning for you? I'm going to continue my sword training with Saber. That's what we've been doing every day, and a master should always be prepared for battle. Rin, what Shiro and I are doing is training. The way you phrase it may cause misunderstanding. Well, actually, yeah, I'm gonna get beaten up by Saber in the morning, like usual. His goal was sacrificing 99% of humanity. Well, yeah, that's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Sacrificing 99% of humanity. I mean, if Merlin wasn't human, then it can't really be called a betrayal. Shiro, if you describe it that way, well, you put me in something of a difficult position. Strength of humanity to have the power to take down a god. So he's Kirshtaria. He is Kirshtaria. He eliminated almost all of humanity just so humanity could become gods. Interesting. So Merlin from Honkai is Kirshtaria Wodame. Interesting. Oh, sorry, Saber. I wasn't listening. As I was saying, Rin's choice of words was too harsh. What is the matter with you, Shiro? You lack vigor this morning. The breakfast you prepared was also bland. Were you in the shed until late again last night? Saber may be questioning me, but there's no bite to it. I can sense that she trusts me, which makes it even harder to meet her gaze now. If our eyes meet, I can't help but think of that scene on the hill. Fine, I will put some life into you later on. So we are going to be training in the dojo again today, alright? Yeah, what about you, Ilya? Me? I'll do the same as yesterday. I don't like getting all wet in the rain, so I don't want to go outside. Perfect. Got it, that's perfect. I'd rather you stay in the house since it's dangerous to go outside. Yeah, if you make bento again like yesterday, I wouldn't mind joining you. Seems like Ilya took a liking to the bento from yesterday. The honkai. You've told me about the honkai before. I'm pretty sure you've told me about them. I'm a little embarrassed to know that something so simple pleased her, but at the same time I'm glad to know Ilya enjoyed the bento I made. Oh, so it'll be the exact same as yesterday. I'm going to my room. I have some things to look up, but come by in the afternoon. There's something I want to talk to you about. Are you researching something? Yep, I think you might have noticed, but there's something going on at Ryoto Temple since yesterday. They've been collecting magical energy really diligently this whole time, but that stopped. Something's definitely going on. And I think that the remaining masters, our biggest threat, is the one at Ryoto Temple. I'll send out a familiar and try to find out what's going on inside. Then, should you not focus on your investigation? I do not see any need for you to take time off to teach Shiro. Well then, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to bear with me on that. I'm still worried about Shiro, so I can't just leave him to his own devices. It might be the one thing for him to die at the hands of the enemy, but since I'm his teacher, it'd bother me if he did something dumb and got himself killed because he messed up his magecraft or something. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Something must have been wrong with me. I don't know why I would have believed your lessons to be unnecessary. Oh, the reasoning there is pretty simple, but best to not talk about it. Well, good luck with your morning training. Shiro's pretty resilient, so it's probably best you beat him within an inch of his life. And with that, Tosaka leaves the room. Saber, take what Tosaka says with a grain of salt. She can say that because she's never been hit by you. I tell her just in case. For some reason, she seems pleased. Don't worry. I know, I understand your body better than she does. She responds calmly. I'm sure you do understand his body better than she does, Seba. What's the matter? Are you not going to eat, Ilya? You've eaten less than a third of what you did yesterday. I just can't eat this. I can't eat spicy food. And okay, J6, I will look forward to your explanation. I don't think it's particularly spicy. The spices used go well with the chicken. I said I don't like mustard. Just eat this for me, will you? In return, I'll eat your strawberry for you. But what are you doing, Ilya? Hey, return that this instant. You may not have that. If you want something sweet, there's apple pie. So, Shiro said he makes the bento from the leftovers of breakfast. Why were they having apple pie for breakfast? Two surviving members of the old era saved a village from being attacked by honkai beasts, and Arthur thought one of them was a powerful wizard since he could beat the beast with ease, and he thought the other one was the Lady of the Lake because he looked feminine and was standing atop the lake. Ilya and Saber sit next to each other, bickering like two close sisters. It's just past noon. The three of us sit and face each other, eating lunch together just like yesterday. Alright, it's not just lunch that's the same as yesterday. Our training today was as well. Today, though, was even more awkward. I don't know how to explain it, but something in my chest stirs whenever I face Saber, and I find myself unable to rush at her with the same desperation I used to. It's not just me. Saber has been acting weird too. It used to be that she never let an opening go by. The last couple days, she's just waited for me to make a move, which has meant the two of us just kind of ended up staring at each other for a while. What's going on with you two? You're not very fun to watch now. Ilya's criticism helped get us back into the swing of things. I managed to go after Saber, but it ended pretty much the same. She bat aside my half-assed attack, but didn't bother countering. Since she didn't follow up, I whirled on Saber, lunged again, and was once again repelled, though again, she didn't counterattack. Our lackluster session ended about 10 minutes ago. Once again, it was at Saber's suggestion we began our lunch break. We're having the same thing we did yesterday. Sandwiches. Figured it wouldn't do to make them exactly the same as yesterday, so I used a few other ingredients. Everyone seems happy. Lily's excited over the colorful sandwiches, and Saber takes a deep breath, preparing for her meal. I think that's Saber's way of showing her enthusiasm. It's much rowdier than yesterday. It's raining and the hardwood floor is cold, but it also feels like a picnic. To help train Arthur because he has something called stigmata, which is rare for a man to have, and something that would allow ordinary humans to possess the strength to kill honkai beasts. You're gonna have to explain what a stigmata is then, in the context of, honkai. That's enough, Ilya. If you eat like that, you'll dirty your clothes. Honestly, this is what happens when you mimic Shiro and try to eat it in one bite. Your mouth is small, so you should eat it more daintily. You're the one who doesn't understand, Saber. It's even less polite to worry about manners with a meal like this. This is a picnic, so this is how you should be eating. Right, Shiro? Ilya happily munches on a sandwich, and Saber reluctantly wipes Ilya's mouth with the napkin. That tickles Saber. Well, I didn't see this coming. Saber and Ilya seem to have warmed up to each other. This is a surprise. Are you not going to push me away, Ilya? Why would I? I love when people are nice to me. Yeah, if anyone else tried to touch me, I'd kill them. But Saber's pretty, so I'll allow it. And we are sharing a meal now. If Saber likes me, I like her too. It's so simple for Ilya. Saber, clearly taken aback, stares at Ilya dumbfounded. Even I, just a spectator as this unfolds, am caught off guard by Ilya's smile. What? You don't think this is fun, Saber? Oh, no, I don't. I'm having tons of fun. It's raining outside, the place is so simple and bleak, and there's nothing here I ever wanted. But just being here is fun. It's much nicer than being all alone. Are you not having fun, Saber? Something in Ilya's smile must have struck Saber. Saber sighs deeply and looks back at her. You're correct. I also enjoy being here. She sounds bright. And then Saber smiles in a way I've never seen from her. This is a new smile sprite for Saber. I don't know why, but I'm getting emotional. That smile was great. It was for herself and herself alone. It's not the usual smile I see from her whenever she's protecting someone. It's a smile of sheer happiness for her, from her. What's that look for? Did something good happen? No, nothing. Was I making a funny face? Yep, you were. You made a face like a father, like you're watching over us from afar. I don't like it. Huh? Why? I don't understand what she's talking about, but I guess I was just smiling. I see. Well, something good happened, so I guess I didn't realize I was smiling. Something good, was it? Yep, I like the way you smiled just now, Saber. Seeing it made me happy. What an odd thing to say. That makes you happy, Shiro? Yeah, I guess I like seeing you smile like that, Saber. Saber nods, though she doesn't seem convinced. And then, I don't know what came over her, but she smiles and lifts her head. I see. Then it must be the other way around, Shiro. What do you mean, the other way around? I'm happier to see you smiling. If you keep smiling, that's good enough for me. I can't meet Saber's gaze. That smile would make anyone lightheaded. I manage to calm myself down and glance sidelong at Saber. She calmly resumes eating her picnic lunch. Nothing to worry about there. There should be nothing to worry about, yet something is bothering me. Happier to see you smiling. In that smile I saw for the first time, it seemed she was contradicting herself. Excuse me. I listened to the rain in Tosaka's room. Why is it raining in her room? Today, under the pretense of a magecraft lesson, she performed yet another physical examination like yesterday. She gave me more medicine and checked all my magic circuits. It's not that I mind doing this, I just don't like the feeling that I'm not doing anything productive. Tech developed by the old era implanted in designer babies, the ones who eventually become the first humans of the current era, and they give great power to the human and gives them natural resistance to Honkai disease, but most people are unable to ever awaken them because they tend to die when it does. Interesting. And why is it rare in males? She tells me to not move so she can see what happens to me, but that doesn't mean I can't talk. Do you have a minute? I call out to her as I sit in my meditative pose. What is it? It's about Saber. I don't know how to explain it, but... I realize I haven't thought this through at all. It's not even a question of what can I do for Saber. I haven't even thought about what I want to do with her. Oh, well, I was just wondering what she wants to do. She's never told us anything she wants to do for herself, so... They're just less prone to awaken it. So Honkai is... Honkai is a gacha game, so that might be a... That's the meta perspective, because male PNG sprites don't sell as well as females for the most part. You don't know what Saber's thinking. No, it's not that. I just don't know why she's so selfless. Yeah, I just don't know what to do about that. I kid, of course. Well, you're right. The only thing she's done voluntarily is protect you. It might be a natural thing for a servant to do, but I can't blame you for thinking that since she's so dedicated to doing it. But that doesn't mean she's selfless. Saber's protecting you because protecting you helps fulfill her goal. Oh? I completely forgot her reason for becoming a servant. You're right. Saber wants to get the Holy Grail, so it's not like she doesn't have any goals. And that Holy Grail will grant its possessor's wish. That means Saber at least has a wish she wants granted. I don't know what it is, but she wants it enough to become a servant. So it must have some hope of saving her. She doesn't want it enough to become a servant. She wants it enough to be summoned. She's engraved upon the throne of heroes. Like, for example, she's here in this time period, and the power of the Holy Grail can help her so she can stay here and live a second life. And she would have to wish for something that big just to make up for all the suffering and tragedy she endured. Then it's actually pretty simple. You're energetic all of a sudden. It's creeping me out. Were we talking about something fun for you to get all excited like this? Yeah, I am getting excited. And yeah, she wouldn't be fighting so hard unless it was for something real big. After all, Saber needs to fight for her own wish. I nod to myself. Pardon the yawn. Tosaka, on the other hand, seems utterly bewildered. Emiya, sorry to rain on your parade, but you're just jumping to the wrong conclusion. Saber's not fighting for her own sake. You understand that, right? Saber isn't like that. She doesn't want the Holy Grail for herself. What's your reasoning? I can't even ask that. Only exceptions are the stigmatas of the Hershers, the ones who are passed down in the Kaslana and the Shariak bloodlines, since those two families never had a problem when it comes to awakening, since they can purify the corrosive properties of the Honkai, and the Kaslana created their blood from the most powerful warrior of the old era, the warrior being the founder of the Kaslana family and the one who became Merlin. His name isn't actually Merlin. Very complicated. Again, I'm pretty sure I said this the last time you started to talk to me about Honkai. I need to find, like, a lore dump video. She met her final moments alone because she didn't have any desires for herself. So Saber wouldn't seek her own salvation now. But still, I hoped otherwise, even for a brief moment, so I pushed my distorted desire on her. Our conversation trails off, just as I think this awkward silence is going to continue forever. This might be a boring story, but Archer actually said something similar to what you said. Archer? You mean your Archer? Yep. I once asked him what his wish was. And do you know what he said? I wouldn't have the slightest idea. I never knew a single thing about him. Archer once declared that we were bound to be enemies anyway, so he made no effort to communicate with Saber or me. And yet, he may have been cynical, but he didn't seem the sort to have stupid objectives in mind. Get this, you're gonna laugh. When I asked him what his wish was, he said, how about world peace forever? It was so ridiculous I couldn't help laughing. Animated shorts they make are designed to entertain those who don't care much for the story, but that's a contradiction and hilarious. Well, then he got all weird and said, I knew you'd laugh. Well, you know, there's no meaning in getting salvation from others. Fine, let's just say this was a joke and leave it at that. Made me think that's probably why a guy like him became a heroic spirit to get ordered around by a girl like me. I see. He didn't look it, but he was a great proud knight of his own right. But don't get the wrong idea. If the Holy Grail really grants any wish, permanent world peace would be the worst one. It just means nothing happens. If there is no conflict in the world, that'd be as good as death. If nothing happens, the only thing is to rot away from stagnation. Did you tell Archer that too? I did, and he said, that's what the wise would think. I agree, but I'm still going to follow this dream, even if it is a fool's dream. Then I pressed him about whether he had any other wishes, and he said, I do, but it's not a wish that should be granted by the Holy Grail, so I'll let you make your own wish in my place. Pretty pretentious, right? I bet he was quite the womanizer when he was alive. Oh, calling Shiro out. It's used to summarize the ending of certain arcs, but in anime form. Gotcha. I really didn't get that impression from him, but what's your point here, Tosaka? Nothing in particular. I was just saying that there are different kinds of servants. Is that so? I guess it was good for me to know, so it was at least kind of helpful. Then let's move on to the next topic. Well, actually, this is mostly about Saber anyway. Merlin was sealed into Avalon by the Lady of the Lake. In Honkai-verse? I do remember you saying you wanted to talk to me about something this morning. Yes, it's nothing big, but I was curious. Might be a bit late in the game for this, but do you know the legend of King Arthur? Legend of King Arthur. I've been reminded of it more than enough the past few days. I know as much as the next person, although I didn't know King Arthur was a girl. Right, her sex doesn't matter though. King Arthur being a girl wouldn't change the legend. As long as King Arthur managed to hide the fact from everyone, she would be treated as a man anyway. Fortunately, King Arthur had a mage called Merlin in his service. Merlin was truly devilish, half incubus actually, so it would have been easy for him to hide King Arthur's sex, or prepare a child who shouldn't have been born. Yeah, I bet. So my concern is the discrepancy between the legend and the saber we have in front of us. Amiya, do you know what Excalibur was? What? Why ask this now? Excalibur is a symbol of King Arthur. It's the sword the fairies gave her, famed for being able to cut through anything without ever dulling. Yeah, that's about what I figured you'd say. Tosaka looks oddly triumphant. Was that a weird thing to say? Yes, you and King Arthur made the same mistake. If Merlin around, he would probably mock you for being a fool. Why is that? The sword in the stone wasn't Excalibur. That sword broke. He later received another sword from a fairy in the lake, and that was Excalibur, right? Yep, when King Arthur received Excalibur, Merlin asked, My king, which do you prefer, the sword or the sheath? King Arthur answered, the sword without a moment's hesitation, but Merlin scolded the king for that. Do not mistake their worth. The sword may cut your enemies, but the sheath protects you. So long as you possess that sheath, you will not spill a single drop of blood, nor sustain any injury. A sheath, rarer than the blade, is what you should value. Avalon's real name is Cosmic Juggernaut. It is used by the Lady of Lake to peer to alternate realities, try and find a world that isn't infected by Honkai, but they never managed to find one. But we managed to find their world. They just haven't gazed back yet. Tosaka skillfully acts out the parts of King Arthur and Merlin. Look at you, Tosaka, you're getting into the part. So what's your point? Come on, do you still not get it? It means King Arthur is immortal. Excalibur is an invincible noble phantasm in both offense and defense, which is why Saber should be able to heal immediately. Tosaka, Saber's wounds do heal. Yes, that's true, but Saber's self-healing abilities come from using a great amount of magical energy, and that sounds like it's separate from the sheath of the legendary Excalibur. I see. And if you say so, it's probably true. Then here's my question. You say that King Arthur is immortal, so then why and how did King Arthur die? The legends end with King Arthur's death, right? Tosaka's mouth drops open. After freezing up for a few seconds, she grinds her teeth and looks away. Alright, Excalibur's sheath was stolen. Ah, rookie mistake there. I've forgotten, but according to legend, King Arthur's fate was sealed the moment the king lost the all-important sheath. So are you convinced now, Tosaka? Yeah, go ahead and make fun of me if you want to. It's also able to create small world universes, those are never sustainable, which is why they don't use it to escape Honkai, and is capable to create a pathway to the Sea of Quanta. She doesn't mean that. I can tell she's ready to kick me in the head the moment I laugh at her. It's all good as long as you understand now. But why did that bother you so much? It shouldn't matter whether Saber gets hurt or not. Shut up, I might have just gotten a little arrogant, thinking she would be invincible if that were the case. I make mistakes too sometimes, you know. This is a tough one. Will there be any benefit in me pointing out she makes mistakes a lot, not just sometimes? No, Shiro. For your own self-preservation, no. By the time the sun sets, the rain stopped completely. Based on our conversation during breakfast, we're heading to town to look for the other master. But I should check something beforehand. I should check Saber's intentions. What is her purpose in fighting? I shouldn't just ask her straight out. I'll need to be casual about it. The concept of divine keys in Honkai. You're gonna have to explain divine keys now. I hyped myself up a bit, and then pushed to my feet. The living room seems like a good starting place. I'm gonna leverage the peaceful pre-dinner mood to try and get through Saber's stubborn nature. Okay, I think I'm getting close to a call point here. Okay. I think we are approaching a dead end. Maybe. Let me backtrack a little bit. Have I ever had an option that splits in that way? I don't think I've ever had one of those option splits. That's a weird one. But that means that was a dead end. Oh, wait, there... No, I didn't actually... I never saw that. I never got that choice. Huh. I'm gonna see what this choice is, and then probably call it there. What if, hypothetically... What would we do if we won the Holy Grail War? So much for casual. I thought about it a lot, and couldn't come up with anything smooth, so blunt it is. Huh? All three of them offer more or less the same response, though with slightly different expressions. The concept of the Hershers are godlike entities that can manipulate certain laws of the world. Divine keys are made from the cores of Hershers, so in layman's terms, the divine objects made from killing godlike entities. Gotcha. Okay, so you caught it last time, Automod, but this time you didn't. This time, Automod did not catch the bot. Like I said, after we win, I want to talk about what to do when we obtain the Holy Grail. Yeah, we got that. Thanks. Where did this come from? Saber and Ilya don't nod, but they do seem to share an opinion on the subject. I guess this was kind of weird to bring up out of nowhere. But I have to play dumb for now. Yeah, well, I'm just asking. There are only 3 servants left, so it's not an unrealistic thought, so, you know, the end is kind of in sight. Because you said some Hershers have died in the past. I do recall you saying that much ages ago. Well, you might be right. I guess even Shiro could be thinking about something like that by now. You did join the war, so I guess it's no surprise you've got your mind on the reward now that you've been risking your life for this. Yeah, I would think that. I'm glad Tosaka likes to focus on the reason for things. She'll allow for the possibility of anything that seems logical, which is really one of her better qualities. This is just something I brought up to discuss, though. So about you, Tosaka, what would you do if you got the Holy Grail? I try to be as natural as possible with this. Let's see, I've really only ever thought about winning. There's nothing I really want to wish for from the Holy Grail. I take the Holy Grail, but I never thought about what I'd do with it. So she's fighting me because she doesn't want to lose. I figured that was the case, but I didn't know for sure until she said it herself. I don't believe this. You seem like the one person who have had it all worked out, but you've actually thought about it the least. Say what you want, but what about you then, Ilya? I don't know. I was just told not to give up the Holy Grail to anyone because it's mine. It's mine to begin with, so I obviously don't care. Is that so? So you're saying you'll enjoy the Holy Grail War more than the Holy Grail? 7th Key of Destruction series, since at full power can burn a big city in an instant, but the Hersher of Flames burn down all of Australia in a single night. So the keys are just a fragment of their true power. Of course, I only came here to win. I don't care what it gets used for. There are 2 peas in a pod. The two stare at each other in silence. They seem to be coming to some sort of understanding. Saber doesn't say anything. She probably doesn't intend to join the conversation. No matter how much she resists, I still have to ask. I have a good idea of your goals. I try to return as naturally as possible. So what about you, Saber? She's been quiet this whole time. That's because humanity is weak! Saber doesn't reply. Sensing that something's amiss, Tosaka and Alias stop and turn towards Saber. The silence stretches out for maybe a minute. I need not remind any of you this, but it's my duty to obtain the Holy Grail. I know little of the Holy Grail's potential, but as long as it is a Holy Grail, I must obtain it. And if possible, I will have my wish granted. There it is. Saber just said she has a wish of her own. I see. So what is your wish? I try to calm my racing heart and keep composed as I ask. Saber doesn't answer. Fine, that's fine. If she can't answer, chances are good it's because her wish is a selfish one. Knowing Saber, she may hesitate to reveal her wish to anyone if she's wishing for something selfish. And I think I'd rather she keep quiet than make something up. I can feel myself trying to back away from the question I raised. Is it really that complicated? Grandfather said that servants can come back to life in this world. They want the Holy Grail for a second chance at life. Isn't that the case for you, Saber? Saber jerks her head up. If that's what she wanted, there would be no problem. Which means... No, I have no interest in a second life. My only goal is to obtain the Holy Grail. The price I paid to have a chance at obtaining the Holy Grail was becoming a servant. Humans can't handle the power. The Ninth Creed can create a quasi-black hole at full power. Quasi-black holes, huh? That'd be cool to be able to do. You know, that'd be excellent for vacuuming things up. I figured that much. Someone who took an oath and drew the sacred sword wouldn't seek a second life. Hold on. You became a servant just to obtain the Holy Grail? You formed a contract when you became a heroic spirit? Yes, I asked to seek the Holy Grail in exchange for becoming a servant. What? Are you saying you weren't summoned as a servant to help a master get the Holy Grail, but you chose to become a servant so you can get the Grail yourself? That's impressive. And that wasn't even the full power, because I'm guessing that a Hersher didn't use it? Tosaka stares at Saber. She tilts her head, confused. So Saber wasn't summoned because she's a heroic spirit, but because she just volunteered to join the war. But as long as she's a servant, she's supposed to be a reputable heroic spirit. That would mean she can't affect the world herself, so Saber must have gone around the rules for servants, while she obviously haven't. Hang on a minute, I need to organize my thoughts. No, you need to do nothing of the sort. You are correct, Rin. I'm different from the other servants. I've yet to become a complete servant. Not a complete servant? What does that mean? Well, first of all, what does it mean to become a servant? Saber just said she agreed to become a servant as the price she had to pay to obtain the Holy Grail, which means... Hold on a minute. Are servants forced to fight as the price to get what they want? Aw, not anybody can? That sucks. No, that's incorrect. Servants are special familiars that exist only for the Holy Grail War. A servant is created through a special summoning magecraft which employs the characteristics of heroic spirits. They are already heroic spirits, so there are no rules which say that servants must work because they are given something. Right, the servant system uses heroic spirits, which are guardian incarnations. It's working with something that already exists, so neither servants nor masters have to pay the price to use the system. But I have heard that before becoming a servant, they have to pay a price to become a heroic spirit in the first place. Heroic spirits are guardians for humans. Even after their deaths, they work to protect humanity and prevent the destruction of the human world. And in order to become a guardian, the person must, while they're still active as a hero in their lifetime, make a deal of some kind. Okay, now they're definitely confusing heroic spirits with counter-guardians. That's the contract to become a heroic spirit, a ritual given to the world after they die. The beneficiaries of this exchange become heroes, and after they've done what they wanted to do as a hero and eventually died, they repay the debt by becoming heroic spirits. That is so incorrect. Basically, in order to become a hero in life, they go into a sort of debt, which they then repay as a heroic spirit after death. You are talking counter-guardians, Rin. Masters like us use servants because we swoop in and make use of that debt heroic spirits are trying to repay. So you're saying humans become heroes by making some sort of trade, and in return they get used and summoned as heroic spirit familiars after their death. Which means the deal Saber made to become a heroic spirit was for the Holy Grail. Since Saber obtained the Holy Grail in her lifetime, the price she has to pay is serving as a heroic spirit, a sort of guardian even after death. That doesn't sound right. Saber said her goal was the Holy Grail, but she already obtained it, since she became a hero in exchange for the Holy Grail. That's not correct, Shiro. I have not yet obtained the Holy Grail. Artoria, King Arthur's wish was to obtain the Holy Grail during their lifetime. I had to obtain the Holy Grail before I died. That's why I agreed to become a guardian after I died if I could first obtain the Holy Grail. As Rin explained, humans form contracts with the world to become heroes. In exchange, they receive powers beyond human ability, which they pay for by serving after their death. But I did not require the world's help to become a hero. Fortunately, King Arthur required no such aid. She didn't need any help to become a hero, so Saber became a hero on her own. Yet you're here as a heroic spirit. Does that mean you asked for something else from the world after King Arthur became a hero? Yes, I required the Holy Grail in my final moments. A wish that must be granted presented itself, so I needed the Holy Grail. That is why I formed a heroic spirit counter-guardian contract. I was offered to wield my sword as a counter-guardian after my death, so long as I could lay my hands upon the Holy Grail. In our last moments, she wished for the Holy Grail miracle. Now I understand her feelings. The blood-soaked hill, swords standing as gravestones, the body of so many knights. A lone king whose reign ended in betrayal. She didn't deserve the end she met. Even if she hadn't had a wish of her own before, she must have thought, I can't die here. This isn't the end I want. That's why there's no shame in using the power of the Holy Grail to prolong her life. I see, so you seized the means of obtaining the Holy Grail by selling yourself after death? But Saber, your condition was obtaining the Holy Grail while you were still alive, right? Then... Yes, I could not complete my search for the Holy Grail while I was alive. I, King Arthur, could not obtain the Holy Grail even at the very end. But that would nullify my contract. For the world to make a servant of me, it must provide a Holy Grail while King Arthur yet lives. And that is why King Arthur will not die until she obtains the Holy Grail. That is to say, she can't die. That means your... Yes, time for King Arthur, for me, stopped at the moment of my death. I should have died a long time ago, but that doesn't fulfill the contract. King Arthur was summoned as a servant right at the moment of death, and she will die the moment she obtains the Holy Grail. So it's not that time stopped, you're stuck in time. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat your fight as a servant, because you obtaining the Holy Grail and fulfilling your contract is predetermined. That's correct. I'll one day obtain the Holy Grail and my contract will be fulfilled. That is why I can be summoned as a heroic spirit in another age. The outcome of my arrangement has already been determined. This does not apply only to the Holy Grail in this town. Should there be a chance of obtaining the Holy Grail, I could be summoned to any battlefield. One day I will obtain the Holy Grail, and once my wish has been granted, time, stopped for me at the moment of death, will resume its flow. King Arthur will meet her end, and in exchange for obtaining the Holy Grail, she will become a counter-guardian. So for you, it's like a dream just before dying, when you can't wake from. This Holy Grail where it's just part of that dream. And the only way for you to wake up is to get a Holy Grail. You believed I could not enter the spirit form because Shiro was inexperienced, but that is incorrect. I cannot enter the spirit form because I am still alive. It may only be a technicality, but I am considered a living person. Just like during the last Holy Grail War. Saber's tone is apologetic. She probably feels bad for laying the blame on for not being able to enter the spirit form for my ineptitude. First key, smart and wise. Second key, accepted by it because it's whimsical and transform into any form it feels like and not according to the user. Got mad at one user and turned into a slingshot, which almost got the user killed, and creator mentioned it having a lipstick form. 6 key needs to be compatible with its ability to absorb / give life, since you could not easily just be destroyed by it. 7th, have to have resistance to fire. I don't care about that. There's something I need to ask. Saber, what do you mean you're not dead? I get that you won't die until you obtain the Holy Grail, and based on how you described it, you haven't been alive since the time of King Arthur. But then, who are you right now? You're not a clone of the real person or anything, right? That is correct. Heroic spirits like summoned when are summoned are copies of the person's original body, but I have yet to reach that state. Until I obtain a Holy Grail, I appear as I am the moment of my death. As Rin mentioned, King Arthur is now stopped in the River of Time. From where I am stranded, I jump both forward and back along the river's flow, and after I attempt to obtain the Holy Grail, I return to where time stopped for me. I tried to diagram it all in my head. It's pretty simple once I visualize it. King Arthur stopped in time at the moment of death, before she dies. but that doesn't matter to the wider flow of time. It continues on all the way to the present. She jumps to whatever time is needed, then returns to her own frozen moment in time after she completes her duty. Otherwise, you'd be incinerated by the key. Lovely. If she managed to obtain the Holy Grail in one of the timelines she visits, she'll be swept back into the proper flow of time and die, just as she does in the history we know. And she becomes a counter guardian. Because that's not how heroic spirits work! When they die, they transfer back to a sort of nexus where the flow of time stops. That is. But Saber made a counter guardian contract, is what she made. Not a heroic spirit contract. Heroic spirits are just heroes. And then, when they're summoned, they are taken to that point of time, then disappear without ever returning. That's probably what she meant by heroic spirits being doubles. Kind of like a clone made of their original selves. The heroic spirit, which completely retains their abilities and memories they had while alive, appears in this world and gets more knowledge, but it's all useless. They have no means to return to their original body, and instead just disappear. False statement. They do retain their knowledge of their summonings. They just do not carry it into the next summoning. And so no matter how many times or in how many different eras they're summoned, they will never have any inconsistencies in their heroic spirit's memories. Such naivete. Ignorance. Shiro Emiya is displaying here. For the moment the person becomes a heroic spirit, they will never change. False. Even if they do obtain new knowledge, they will just disappear once their role is over. False. So in that sense, Saber is not a complete servant. After each time she's summoned, she will eventually return to her own time. She goes back to that moment where she's about to die on the blood-soaked hill. Never get surrendered to Honkai if things go bad. Activate power key, kill the enemy, but die in the process. Is that the 9th key? Or is that the 8th key? Hold it. So then what? If you manage to get the Holy Grail this time, you'll return to your own time and use the Holy Grail there. That's altering the past. Time traveling or intervening in parallel world is magic. You can't do something like that. That's the 7th key. Interesting. The Holy Grail makes that possible. My contract dictates that I will become a servant if I can use the Holy Grail. Counter Guardian. Even if using the Holy Grail causes the person Artoria to disappear, that is the simple cost of me becoming a Counter Guardian. Saber is so matter-of-fact about it. It doesn't sound right, though. Using the Holy Grail to grant a wish is fine. But why would that mean Artoria has to disappear? What the hell? You're going to disappear by using the Holy Grail? That's messed up. Saber, you're not going to... I see the image of the girl dying on the hill all alone. You're not going to use the Holy Grail to save yourself? What are you asking, Shiro? My only desire is to save my nation from ruin. I can feel my expression tensing up. I thought I knew Saber's wish, but now my head is spinning like I feel like throwing up. Why? And yet, I try to push air from my lungs to get that one word out. There is no reason I should not. I could not protect my nation. I became king to protect that nation, but I failed to fulfill that duty. And that is when I thought, perhaps the sword in the stone was wrong to have chosen me. That's ridiculous. Why would she think that? No, that's a doubt I always carried with me. Perhaps I was never fit to be king. Perhaps there was another hero who would have been a better choice. Even in the moment I pulled the sword, there must have been a better king out there, one able to save the nation, while I could not. Never real if there are people who managed to, but there's 2 people who managed to survive activating the pull power of the 7th. One of them was almost dead, but was saved by the healing power of the 6th key, since it's the only thing made to heal the 7th key's divine flames, and the other is Merlin. Because of course it's Merlin. And so if I could use the power of the Holy Grail to redo the selection of the king, then perhaps we could. Is she saying that her nation wouldn't be destroyed if she was able to go back to that moment? And I feel faint. I'm really angry at Saber for wishing for such a ridiculous thing. Feeling passes in an instant, though. Probably looked like a deer in the headlights. Isn't it obvious? Saber's wish is not for herself. And on top of that, she wishes for her own elimination. She exists because she became a king by drawing the sacred sword. Pretend that never happened means she simply wouldn't exist. Let's say we use the Holy Grail to grant her wish. Artoria would never become king. She would just live in a timeline where she is an ordinary knight. But then what would happen to the Saber I know? Even if it's only temporary, she already exists as a heroic spirit, and if her wish is granted, she will continue on, but as being only meant for fighting. She's already paid the price for obtaining the Holy Grail, so the Saber I know will continue existing, even if Artoria never becomes king. She'll be cut off from the past and the future. She will always and only ever be the lonely knight dying in the blood-soaked hill. That's idiotic. I won't allow it. There's no hope of salvation there. Even if she were able to do it all over, and there really was a better king, and her nation did manage to last longer, and if she was saved herself, it'd all be lies, even if it made everyone around her happy. I just can't let the past 10 years she fought through be a lie. No, you can't do that. You can't redo things. It wouldn't mean anything if you did, Saber. Don't use the Holy Grail for something like that. You obtain the Holy Grail because you fight for it. You should use that miracle for yourself. But I've said I'll be using it for myself. I, Artoria, must fulfill her duty as king. How does she not understand? You've already done more than your duty. You've done so much already. You didn't give up when you were feared or when you were betrayed. You held on to your sword until the end on that hill. So why? Why do you have to keep such promises even after you die? Saber looks bewildered. Too late to regret what I said. I shouldn't have just blurted out that I've been dreaming of Saber's past. Heavy silence hangs between us. I can't think of what to say. There's an item in the game that's a chunk of ice with the seventh flame contained within it. Merlin was the first person to wield the seventh key, only when able to suppress the flames completely. If he wants, he can easily destroy it if he has frozen the flames before. The reason I don't say Merlin's real name is because he's one of the most important characters in the game, so I'm just going to let you figure that out. Gotcha. So I need to watch lore videos. I just can't keep quiet. Saber, I don't like it when people aren't rewarded for their hard work. It's wrong. It's not fair. I get that it's childish, but I want to believe that humans can find happiness if they really work for it. I'm not going to lose to other masters. I'm claiming the Holy Grail, no question. That's why I want you to make your own wish. That's why I'll actually find some meaning in this stupid war. That's the conclusion I reached. I don't know what the Holy Grail is, nor do I know if it's even something you should try to obtain. But if it could save Saber, even a little, then I'll go all out for her. Sound of heavy bell rings out and the house suddenly goes dark. The air changes immediately. Yeah, I'm probably going to look for videos. The lights go out, but Saber, Tosaka, and I don't say a word. We try to gauge our surroundings with our other senses. Yep, no spoilering too much. The loud ringing stops and the living room goes silent. And yet, a soft rustling sound ripples through the house. Is that the alarm this house is bound? Is that alarm this house is bounded field? I nod in silence. It's the same sound as when Lancer broke in. That can only mean... The sounds are getting closer, louder. Something is sliding against or across something else. It sounds like a swarm of bugs are rushing toward the light. The only place the sound doesn't seem to be coming from is the living room. It's not even been a minute since the lights went out and we're surrounded on all sides by that sound. An enemy, but it doesn't seem like a servant. There's just too many of them. Whatever people might say, I do have some knowledge of mages and magecraft. Even I can sense there's a lot of magical energy coming from a ton of people, or things surrounding the house. 20 at least. But they also seem weirdly light. I don't sense any human will or intellect. The flapping sound seems to be coming from enemy puppets. Oh, so they did come. They've been running away from me this entire time, but now that Berserker's gone, here they are again. What a shrewd servant. I think so. Ilya speaks up amid the flapping sounds. She's, unlike the three of us, is strangely calm. Do you know who that is, Ilya? Of course I do. I know all the servants. Caster's out there, and she's brought quite an entourage with her. They look like cheap golems made with dragon teeth. Ilya's so casual about this. And just then, the sound stops. I grab the wooden sword in the living room. Saber and Tosaka seem to be waiting for me to make a move. I am going to save here and call the stream because it has been 2.5 hours and my throat is parched. And I've been out of water for quite a while. So, I've been SoulRackDragon. I hope you've all enjoyed today's stream. If you have, leave me some feedback in whichever way you so see fit. If you want to check out more by me, be sure to check out my channel here on Twitch or YouTube. Same name, same games. There is plenty of content for all to enjoy. But once again, thank you all so much for coming out. Hope you enjoyed. Have a fantastic evening, everybody.